And there is Nick Foles. The Eagle fans in attendance here let out a big cheer when he hit the field as we welcome you to FedEx Field. And the NFL on Fox, the wrap-up to the regular season with Daryl Johnston, a three-time Super Bowl champ. I'm Chris Myers, an early Happy New Year. Thanks a lot for being with us. Well, for the Eagles to get back in, all they got to do is win and hope that the Vikings lose. We'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the game. They've won 4 of their last 5. It's in the hands of Nick Foles, their Super Bowl MVP, and Doug Peterson saying last night, our team is right where we want to be, and it may be in the nick of time.
They're playing their best football at the best time of year, and this is a team that was going to face all the normal challenges you do as a defending Super Bowl champion. Then they get hit by the injury bug. They sit at 4-6 after being embarrassed by the New Orleans Saints, and they're able to turn it around. One thing Chris Long wanted to make sure everybody knew, they never quit. And if you're in the NFC right now, this is a team you do not want to get into the playoffs.
Well, after Week 10, the Redskins had a 6-3 record. They led the NFC East division by 2 games. Alex Smith gets hurt. 4 quarterbacks play over the next 4 games. And it's interesting, Daryl, just one win separates Philadelphia and Washington, yet it feels like a million miles apart.
It's amazing that only one win separates these teams. When you sit down and talk to them and see the different vibe, the different emotions. You mentioned the 4 quarterbacks, but 24 players put on IR. Your margin for error is so small from week to week. It makes it so challenging. Ryan Kerrigan told us they've got the right guys here. Good intensity, good effort at practice during the course of the week. We'll see how that translates to the field today.
Washington trying to finish with an 8-8 record. Let's head down to the field and Laura Oakman.
Hi, Chris. Doug Peterson's message this week: we can't be watching any other game because if we lose this game, we're done. The scoreboard on Philly's side will be showing the Bears-Vikings game, but will they be watching? Chris Long told me, listen, it's not like we're not going to try to break our necks trying not to look, but I think the moment we start thinking about things we can't control, the things we can control start to unravel. Our focus is here.
All right, thank you very much, and here we go. Temperature in the 40s, light wind, no rain in the forecast. Byron Marshall for the Redskins on the return. He slips through a tackle and brought down short of the 25. The Redskins did win the toss, and they wanted the football, and they have it. We've mentioned the quarterback shuffle. Josh Johnson has bounced around, but since stepping in for the Redskins, remember he was signed after Colt McCoy, who played in relief of the injury to starter Alex Smith. And when he was able to grab a win for this team, his mobility could be a factor today. In fact, mobile quarterbacks have given the Eagle defense a bit of a problem.
Yeah, but that's going to be key for this Redskin offense. That offensive line, one of the areas that was hit really, really hard with that injury bug. So the ability to extend plays and get out of the pocket will be key to them having success this afternoon.
Johnson scrambling right away, pointing, throwing, and open. But he underthrew him, and it's intercepted. Rasul Douglas with the takeaway, and that's been a big difference for the Eagles now in their last 5+ games. 11 takeaways compared to just 6 in their first 11 games.
Really well played right here, just kind of in that trail position, looking back, finding the quarterback, seeing what's going on. He looks open, but that's a long throw, and the ability to close and make the interception by Rasul Douglas.
And you saw Douglas with a little tug of the jersey on Josh Doctson. He was open. It just took a while for the ball to get there. And the takeaway sets up the Eagles, and they wear that as if they're stealing the football from the opposition. Looks like my agent. But it's a difference maker. Doug Peterson said not only has the defensive line played well, our takeaways have made a difference, shortening the field for our offense. And here on the first play, they get it back for Foles, who gives to Wendell Smallwood with a gain of 8 on first down. Foles making his 5th start of this season, 3-1 record. He opened the season. Carson Wentz is inactive. Nate Sudfeld would be the backup here. And what a game. In fact, he's had 4 400-yard passing games, a record-setting moment when you look at Eagle quarterbacks over time, as Darren Sproles checks in on 2nd and 2. Straight ahead Sproles. He's got a first down up across the 41-yard line. Offensive line, Jason Peters battling that quad injury, but he's toughing it out. Lane Johnson, no sacks allowed last week by him against the tough J.J. Watt.
Good performance there by that offensive line. And the skill positions have gotten healthy. They were really injured in that wide receiver running back area early in the season, working with a personnel group, 3 tight ends, that is something they use from time to time, but it became the featured personnel group, and that's not who this team is.
Redskins with a deep drop. There's a flag.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense, number 94. It's a 5-yard penalty. First down.
Preston Smith caught leaning in there. Craig Ralstad, our referee today, and that'll make things easier. What's the biggest difference with Foles in this lineup versus Carson Wentz?
I think one of the things that we learned yesterday, his read and react response to what the offensive play and the matchups are. He gives his guys opportunities with 50-50 balls down the field. A lot of people talk about a more vertical approach, but it's the matchups he sees at pre-snap.
Good rush. He had to get rid of it over the head of Sproles. Preston Smith was the guy coming in on that Washington defense without Matt Ioannidis. Caleb Brantley starts up front in place of him. Kerrigan going to the Pro Bowl after a slow start, a dozen sacks for Washington, and DeShazer Everett in the secondary for the since released DJ Swearinger.
And this group, a lot of people asking why Greg Minuski's defense hasn't been able to carry this team while they've been relatively healthy. It's that complementary football. The offense is not holding the ball. The defense is on the field a lot, not getting off on third downs.
Foles. And first down inside the 40. Dallas Goedert gets down around the 30 of Washington. The emerging rookie tight end has allowed this offense to open up.
And that's just one of those other situations where now you've got another tight end coming in. That's Zach Ertz, who draws all the coverage to you. And now you've got Dallas Goedert crossing the field underneath into the flat. And his emergence now with that 2 tight end personnel, something that Doug Peterson would like to get into more often, with a healthy set of wide receivers and those running backs back.
A gain of 25 yards. Josh Adams is in at running back. He gets the carry and gets inside the 25 of Washington before he gets shoved back. Doug Peterson, in his 3rd year, talked about the greatest challenge of repeating as a Super Bowl champion. So the energy level from training camp all the way to where we are now, it can zap you. And he admitted himself, hey, at times I had to remind myself of that, not just the team.
A lot of distractions in the offseason celebrating your Super Bowl championship, but you got to get ready to defend, and they found that to be a little bit challenging this offseason.
This will be on the Eagles, it would appear.
False start. Offense, number 71 and number 65. That's a 5-yard penalty.
All right,
Second down.
They got 2 Eagles on that. Now, Philadelphia, they've scored the fewest first quarter points of any team in the NFL this year at 38 points. That's somewhat surprising given this offense. But even Foles said, I'm a rhythm guy. I want to start, get into a pattern, get into a rhythm, and has an opportunity here, although the penalty backing him up.
Yeah, but better the last 4 games. 3 of the last 4 games they've scored.
Handled by Foles. He still completes the pass, but just at that 25-yard line where Golden Tate hauled in the pass.
The opening drive last week against Houston was outstanding. 13 plays, 77 yards, and that's the kind of rhythm that Nick Foles is talking about. You mentioned, the fewest points in the first quarter, and what is different about this team? One of the things over the last month is their ability to start the game quickly and get some points on that opening drive.
Foles hit on 15 of 16 passes on 3rd or 4th down in that previous week. He's facing a 3rd and 5. And it's intercepted into the arms of the Redskins. DeShazer Everett with the pick. They trade turnovers. And a costly one there because the Eagles were in field goal range. Foles intercepted by Everett. And Washington is back on offense.
Nick Foles looking for Zach Ertz on this play, but look at the coverage. It's tight. It's really congested in the middle of the field, and this ball sails on Nick Foles, and this will happen from time to time. He had a bad interception in the second half of the game last week against the Houston Texans, and not so much the ball sailing, but also the decision making. That happens from time to time with Nick Foles.
To Shazer Everett, 24-yard interception return. 31-yard line of Washington. Adrian Peterson, and a flag dropped at the 31 after Peterson carried.
Holding. Offense, number 87. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
Chris, if there's one thing the Redskins have been good at this season, it's offensive holding. Unfortunately, that's not a good thing to lead the league in.
And they do lead the league in holding penalties. That one's on Jeremy Sprinkles, the reserve tight end. Vernon Davis is out with a concussion. Jordan Reed was put on injured reserve as the injuries continue to pile up on Jay Gruden.
Hey, Lucky, 5-8, 5-8.
Wipes out a 8-yard gain. Now 1st and 20. Johnson's throw caught by Crowder up at the 28-yard line.
That's what I mean when I talk about margin for error. 2nd and 2 versus 1st and 20. The Redskins can't stay in those types of positions against this defense of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Jordan Hicks, important part of that defense, battling a calf strain, but he is out there. And we've already seen one takeaway by this Eagle defense in this game. But the pass defense has been leaky. Can Josh Johnson take advantage? Johnson on 2nd and 13 is going to have to run. There's room if he wants to head upfield. He throws, and the catch toward the sideline. Did he stay in bounds? That's Michael Floyd. And he's in the lineup because Maurice Harris was put on injured reserve. Out of bounds is the ruling on the reception. Let's check the feet, and the officials got it right.
Again, we've seen the ability of Josh Johnson to get out, extend these plays, and be mobile. A little high right there, able to get that first foot down, but not able to get the second one in.
Redskins averaging just under 19 points a game, facing a 3rd and 13. Need to get to the 41-yard line for a first down. It's a 4-man rush. The throw is incomplete. Let's get a game break. Say hi to Carissa Thompson. Hey, Carissa.
Hey, Chris. So as you know, the Eagles clinched with a win and a Vikings loss, so I'll keep you updated on this game all day long. Trubisky hands it off to Jordan Howard, who scores from 6 yards out on the opening drive. Bears leading early, 7-0. Chris, Gerald, and Laura.
Thank you, Carissa. That's good news for Eagle fans who want the win here. And that Minnesota loss to grab the final NFC playoff spot. The Rams are leading against the 49ers by the score of 7-0. That figures in the big picture. They can nail down the 2 seed. Sproles back at the 15-yard line. Nick Foles, after throwing an early interception, takes over with the Eagles on offense, scoreless. Doug Peterson saying last night, I have to write on my call sheet a reminder, patience with the run, and stare at it every once in a while.
Everybody from the Andy Reid offense has to write patience with the run on their call sheet because they tend to slide to 65 pass, 35 run. Now, in the beginning of the year, when he had Jay Ajayi, it was easy to do that. You've got a big physical running back. He wanted to have that style to this offense, but he's had to adjust a little bit, and he has to remind himself during the course of the game.
They've run it 3 times and thrown it 4. On first down, it's Adams with a big hole who slips across the 20-yard line of Philadelphia. Adams had a tough fumble last week, but he has taken over because of the injuries at running back. He's the Eagles' leading rusher. Played 13 games after the first couple of weeks. He was on the practice squad.
And he'll be important. If Philadelphia wins today and Chicago wins today and the Eagles get into the playoffs, Josh Adams is going to be important for this team because he does add that physical element in the running game that Doug Peterson can be patient with.
Yeah, he's 6'2", big guy, averaging over 4 yards a carry. The Bears are leading the Vikings 7-0. Rams are leading San Francisco 7-0. Scoreless here. Foles has time, but then he's brought down. Short of the 18 as Stacy McGee got to him.
Nice job in the secondary by the Washington Redskins. Nowhere for Nick Foles to go with the football. We talked about read and react. He's going through his progression, trying to find where the ball goes. You can see him look to his left. That was his outlet, but it was too late as protection broke down.
Sproles was over there, but Foles couldn't get it to him quick enough. After a loss of 3. Darren Sproles is the running back. 3 receivers, top of your screen. Golden Tate in the slot. Eagles need 8. Foles has a moment, and in between, Tate couldn't hold it. A couple of Redskin defenders. Looked like Foles had dropped it in there.
It really did. We'll have to see what happens here with Golden Tate. You know, he's got it right there. He tries to kind of one-hand it. I don't know if he felt Clinton Dix coming up and was trying to prepare for a big hit, but that was great location by Nick Foles. Golden Tate's just got to finish that play.
Redskins defense forces a 4th down punt. First-year punter from Ohio State, Cameron Johnston, from inside his own 10, and Crowder has it at the 36. Crowder cuts back and gets up across the 44-yard line. A lot on the line for the Eagles. It's an old-fashioned NFC East rivalry game. Redskins and Philadelphia. Recap of the 7-8 Redskins season. Veterans on offense. They added Alex Smith and Adrian Peterson. Got out to a 6-3 start. Led the division, but that 10th game, Smith the broken leg. 3 different starting quarterbacks since, going 1-5. And they released DJ Swearinger from the defense after he was critical of the defensive coordinator and some other moves. But Jay Gruden said, we had to talk about that. More on that later. I'm trying to keep the football team on the football stuff and finish at least with an 8-8 record. Right away, making the stop is Brandon Graham on Adrian Peterson.
Boy, he's been playing well down the stretch. You know, all this team is, they've gotten healthy and gotten everybody back in the lineup. They're going to have a tough decision on Brandon Graham at the end of this season.
A number of free agents on that Jim Schwartz defense. Graham was one of those guys. He said, I'm not going to kid you here. I'll be scoreboard watching when I'm not on the field playing. And he's looking up at the Bears leading Minnesota 7-0.
Lucky. Hey, 5-0.
After a loss of 4, Johnson batted away and almost intercepted. It was almost another Eagle takeaway. Johnson already has 1 pick. Rasul Douglas on that opening throw.
Well, you've got a banged up offensive line. You've got a quarterback that's only been in your system for a little over a month right now. And Jim Schwartz is bringing some pressure up inside, trying to cloud that up. Nigel Bradham goes up and gets a deflection on that one.
Bradham last week played every snap on defense in that win over the Texans. 3rd and 14. A lot of Eagle fans here.
Got your 2 edge rushers on the same side.
Chris Long with Michael Bennett. And trying to dump it off to Chris Thompson. And it's 4th down. Let's get a game break. Carissa.
Big score. So the Ravens clinch the AFC North with a win. Baker trying to play spoiler. This helps. Finds Brashad Perriman for this 28-yard score. Browns up early, 7-3. Chris, Darrell, and Laura.
All right, thank you. The scramble in the AFC. The Chiefs are leading the Raiders 7-0. They can nail down the number 1 seed. The Patriots won earlier. They have a chance at the 1 seed, but at least a first-round bye for New England once again, as Sproles has it and knocked down right away at the 20. Good special teams play as the Washington Redskins get it from Adonis Alexander. Eagles on offense at a scoreless opening quarter. Well, Nick Foles started the first couple of games. Eagles record 1-1. Carson Wentz returning for the next 11 games, a 5-6 record. And then Foles having to come back in when Wentz in the last couple of games before starting this one. Eagles have won both of those with 31 points a game average through that. And happy birthday, Carson Wentz. He'll get his back checked on further, but unlikely. In fact, don't count on him should the Eagles make the playoffs. He's not in the plans right now because of the injury, so it's up to Foles. And right now, in a scoreless game here, the Bears are leading Minnesota in their game 7-0. Foles to Sproles with room to run, and he goes up the sideline up near the 35. So he stepped out at the 33, but good enough for a first down.
Just a great element in this offense. You fake him the ball, you can either block that guy in protection or just free release him. They choose to free release Darren Sproles. Nice job by Nick Foles getting it over the top, and just a great addition to this offensive group with Darren Sproles back healthy after that hamstring.
A pickup of a dozen as Smallwood comes in. That's Aguilar in motion. Wendell Smallwood with a crease first down up across the 45-yard line. Clinton Dix brought him down, but another Eagle first down.
Now, we had Wendell Smallwood in the lineup back when we had the Eagles versus the Colts week 3, and I was really impressed with his physicality running the football. So one of the guys a little bit undersized, and you think he's more of a speed scat back, but he ran real physically.
Picked up 13. The injuries you mentioned with Ajayi and Clement to that running stable. Josh Adams is back in at the 46 of Philadelphia. Adams straight ahead, met hard this time, and maybe back to the line of scrimmage. He had a career high 85 rushing yards in the first meeting with the Redskins, but he's only averaged about 28 yards a game in the last 3. Of course, sharing the load with Sproles back and Smallwood.
It's tough to run on this Redskin team when you go towards the middle, when you got Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, Caleb Brantley in today for Matt Ioannidis, but that's a big group of 3 guys inside.
It's a flip to Nelson Aguilar, and he's got another Eagle first down. A creative run by Doug Peterson.
Yeah, they're going to make you hear that saying. You'll hear Sean McVay say, "We make you defend every blade of grass on the field," and that's kind of sideline to sideline. So we've seen some of the power game up inside. Now here you go. Let's test the perimeter. Let's see how they are with their run support coming out of the secondary.
10-yard pickup, 43-yard line of Washington. Each team has had the ball on offense 3 times. Just over 4 minutes in a scoreless opening quarter. Sproles in the backfield. Quick pass, and Dallas Goedert knocked out of bounds after making the catch. Of course, Zach Ertz, the starting tight end, set the NFL reception record already in a single season for a tight end, but Goddard's emergence has really helped this team out.
What it helps you do, Chris, is you line up with 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, and you really don't know what the Eagles are going to call. You saw Nelson Aguilar on that last one where it kind of looks like a pass formation, but they come in with a run. So the emergence of Dallas Goedert has really put stress on defenses to have to defend run and pass out of that personnel.
From the 40, quick pass to Smallwood. 2 Redskins gather him in as he is held inbounds to give DeShazer Everett credit for the tackle. He had the interception earlier on that Washington defense, and a defense that is moving on from DJ Swearinger. They've had other injuries. They had Monte Nicholson, who was placed on the reserve list after his arrest charge earlier. Dunbar had an injury. On 3rd and 4. Foles, Alshon Jeffrey has it, and yes, he stayed in bounds. Boy, these two have a chemistry that he wants everybody up to the line on a quick snap, so there's no chance to challenge here. That's Josh Norman wondering if he kept his feet in. It was ruled a catch. And a 16-yard pickup, and now it's in the history books as Sproles gets back to the 21-yard line. Let's take a look at the feet.
Well, the officials can't do anything about it, but we sure can. Let's go back and see if this was a completion in bounds. He secures the catch. There's 1 foot down. Does he get that second one? Sure.
Oh, that is.
Did he have possession that was still moving a little bit?
Good footwork, but
There's the 2 feet down. It sure looked like he had it secured. Now he's going to the ground, so does he maintain possession? It sure looks like he did. I think I'd give that a catch the way it was called on the field.
And they didn't want to, as he's being checked, that's Jeffrey over on the sideline. He came out of the game last week beat up. After no gain, Foles to Sproles, who's tackled right away. Fabian Moreau on Sproles, who's in his 14th season. He played the last 4 games. He missed 10 before that because of that hamstring, and it was an important part of the offense that was missing when you talk about quarterback injury and receivers being shuffled around and other running backs.
He's a matchup problem for a defense. Who are you going to put on him? That's one of the things that Darren Sproles has done throughout his career. And if you can get him in space, those return skills become very evident.
On 3rd and 10, they were down here before, suffered an interception that cost him a scoring opportunity. Foles the quick pass, and the catch is made going out of bounds. Golden Tate. But he's going to be short of the first down. And this is not, for a team that's gone for it the second most on 4th down, this is not a situation where Doug Peterson wants to fool around in what has been an early defensive struggle. So here comes Jake Elliott in the field goal unit.
Yeah, get some points on the board. You had a nice opening drive that ended with that interception, and you gave up the opportunity to try for points. So let's get some points on the board.
He kicked the game winner as time expired from 35 yards away last week. And Elliott from 33. The Eagles take the lead with just 22 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. Eagles settle for 3 on a drive that covered more than 60 yards and 6 minutes in a defensive battle in the opening quarter.
But you see Foles 7 for 7, 50 yards. That's some of that read and react and taking what the defense is giving you. They haven't given him those big shots down the field at this point.
Byron Marshall back to receive, and from his goal line on the return for the Redskins. Up across the 22-yard line. The NFC playoff picture. The Saints have the #1 seed. The Rams, who have a 14-0 advantage over the 49ers, can nail down the 2nd seed. The Eagles need to win and hope the Vikings lose to get that final NFC playoff spot. And right now, the Bears lead 7-0 with under a minute to go in the opening quarter. And the Cowboys got their 10th win earlier today, resting Ezekiel Elliott, but a dramatic come-from-behind win against the Giants.
Yeah, great throw and catch. Dak Prescott to Cole Beasley. Great job in the back of the end zone, getting the 2-point play and then holding the Giants off at the end.
Cowboys will be hosting a playoff game. Chris Long looking in. A couple of sacks in the big win last week. Brother Kyle active and playing today for the Bears as well, as Peterson is brought down right away. And the opening quarter should wind down. The game plan, Jay Gruden would like to see Peterson get his hands on the football 25 times or more, but trailing 3-0, we'll see how that plays out. It's a close one so far, but the Eagles have a 3-0 lead after 1 at FedEx Field. Laura Oakman on the field, Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers, the NFL on Fox. Glad you're with us from FedEx Field. Start of the second quarter in a game in which the playoffs hang in the balance for Philadelphia. And Washington taking over on offense with Josh Johnson, who is the 4th quarterback. They had signed Mark Sanchez when Colt McCoy went down because they thought he had some playoff experience behind a young backup. And then when he was injured, they had to go out and get somebody else. And Johnson had been in the system with Jay Gruden in Cincinnati and Tampa and has produced under the circumstances. Byron Marshall splits out as a receiver bottom of your screen. The running back Thompson is the top of your screen. Interesting formation. 2nd and 11. And open downfield for a first down catch at the 43 is Josh Doctson.
Josh Doctson coming out of that inside spot, and one of the things that Josh Johnson told us was as he's kind of going through this whole process and trying to show, you know, his skills to the rest of the NFL, is his ability to prepare and execute in the offense. And remember, he's only been here a few weeks, and running empty formations, and that shows you how far along he's come since that first week.
Pick up a 20. It's Peterson. Adrian with nowhere to go. Yeah, Josh Johnson, when you look at his career, 13 different NFL franchises have had him either in their camp or under contract. His third start since being signed by Washington. He's even played for the Sacramento Mountain Lions of the UFL and under contract to the San Diego Fleet of the AAF. He's played for both John Gruden and Jay Gruden, but just grateful, never blamed anybody for being bounced around the league, but has always kept his focus on trying to play in the league and survive. And that's still his plan beyond this year. Pressure coming, he steps up and slips away. Johnson to midfield. Malcolm Jenkins brought him down. That's the mobility that helps out Josh Johnson.
Absolutely. And this was an issue last week for the Eagles defense against Deshaun Watson and the Texans. They had him bottled up but couldn't get him to the ground. Exactly the same thing here. It looks like they've got Josh Johnson sacked right there, but he's able to break away and get a positive gain.
So now it's 3rd and 2 after he got 7 out of that. It was Fletcher Cox and Michael Bennett. Boy, that Eagle defensive line, they just keep coming at you from all over. It could be Chris Long or Brandon Graham. Haloti Ngata. Johnson's in trouble. And knocked down, he'll lose yardage coming up from his defensive back spot. Rasul Douglas is already having a big game with an interception and a sack there.
Yeah, I think it was Michael Bennett on the inside. Let's see if Michael Bennett just gets right up the field immediately, beats the down block. Yeah, just an athletic move, kind of pushes it out. There's Brandon Graham up the field. So, I mean, you had your 2 inside guys up the field that forced Josh Johnson to run the bubble. That play was dead at the snap.
Tress Way is the only punter without a touchback. That is unbelievable. Sproles has that fair catch at the 13-yard line. The Eagle defense protecting a 3-0 lead. Foles and Sproles on offense in a moment. Well, the defending Super Bowl champs need to win to get in, and a Viking loss, and the score, Bears lead Minnesota in Minnesota 7-0 under 13 minutes to go before the half in that game. Eagles with a 3-0 lead here as they take over on offense from their own 18-yard line, and the Rams at home with a 14-3 lead over the 49ers, trying to nail down the 2 seed. That's important because then the Bears, it would affect their situation. They'd be stuck in that 3 seed spot. Final regular season Sunday. Smallwood, the carry, and straight ahead, tough run, picked up 9 yards. Laura.
We saw Foles. We've seen him kind of settle down since that first interception early. Not surprising, because I was talking to Nick, who said your mind starts wandering during the game. You're thinking about a big play, then you force them. He said, I learned visualization is great, but not in football. It gets your juices going too early, like his coach does. He said, Doug says be patient with the run. For me, it's a reminder to be patient with the play. It doesn't mean I won't take a shot, but I won't do anything cute. I'm trying not to force it, let the game come.
Smallwood gets the first down. That was a tough hit at the 25-yard line, but back-to-back runs going back to the reminder, because we had more pass attempts than run attempts early. But Foles this week was talking to the Philadelphia media, and he said he found peace and calm in the midst of the biggest game you can play in the Super Bowl. But when the season started, he kind of lost that. He got caught up in thinking about all the other things. Then going to the bench and coming back, he's kind of refocused. But with a running game, that'll bail out any quarterback. Completion at the 34-yard line.
And there's a great example of what Laura talked about, just being patient with the passing game the same way that Doug Peterson is with the run game. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about our conversation was him staying in the moment. And you pointed out that's why that game last year in the Super Bowl, he was able to perform the way he did. He doesn't put too much pressure on himself. He reads, reacts. He takes what the defense gives him, stays in that moment as well as anybody I've ever had the opportunity to discuss with.
Second catch for Jalsha Jeffrey. Zach Ertz does not have a catch yet. Sproles on a delay and a good tackle at the 34-yard line. Let's say hello to Kurt Menefee for a game break. Kurt.
Hello, Chris Myers. Well, the Ravens are 5-1 since Lamar Jackson took over at quarterback. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns in the first half against Cleveland today. They're up 17-7, and as you know, if they win the game, they also win the AFC North.
Terrific coaching job there by John Harbaugh. Thank you, Kurt. The Chiefs, 14-0 lead over Oakland at home. They nail down the #1 seed in the AFC if they hang on in that one. 3rd and 2. The pitch to Sproles. He works his way up and gets the first down. Tough running for a guy 5'6".
Yeah, 3rd and 2, but watch how far he is pressed in the backfield. I mean, he's 6 yards deep at that time, just gets around Preston Smith and able to get the yards for the first down.
When you look at the accomplishments of a guy who is the only player in NFL history, 30 receiving touchdowns, 20 rushing touchdowns, a punt return, and a kickoff return for a touchdown, and still going strong for Philadelphia. Foles. Alshon Jeffrey with a first down catch across midfield.
There's another nice throw right there. It's Pernell McPhee who's got pressure right in Nick Foles' face. And we remember the throw last week with Jadeveon Clowney coming right up the middle, putting the big hit on him. Kind of similar to that, but great location, able to hang in there.
You know, you talked about Foles being a self-proclaimed reactionary quarterback. He also played some hoops in his day. Good basketball player. He sees himself as a kind of a point guard, a distributor. He's already got it to 6 different receivers today. And like he tells us, you're like you dribble it up court. You don't exactly know where you're going to go, but you'll hit the open guy or take it yourself. And here, if he can get rid of it, he does, to Dallas Goedert, who makes something out of nothing. Getting back near the original line of scrimmage. Ryan Kerrigan did say that this week there was a high level of intensity in practice on this Redskin defense, even though they know they have no shot at the playoffs.
Yeah, it's always confusing to me when people on the outside ask, you know, what's your motivation? You're on a football field playing in the NFL for your team, and all your peers are going to see that film at some point, and you don't want to have the reputation as somebody that doesn't play hard every snap. So these Eagles need to be ready for the best that this Redskin defense can give at them.
Foles from the pocket, dumps it off to Josh Adams, working down the sideline. He'll be short of the first down. Yeah, every game means something. There are just degrees of whether it's playoff worthy or job security worthy or paycheck worthy. You're getting a paycheck for being out there.
Yeah, it's your job. It's your job to go out there and perform. And on that play right there, again, it's another great example of Nick Foles staying in the moment and being smart with the football. There was a one-on-one down the field, and we've heard that he likes to give more opportunity on the 50-50 ball, and he didn't take that shot because there was something there that he didn't like, and he checked it down.
3rd and 2. Redskins show extra pressure. They only rush 4. Foles steps up and gets the first down. Making the catch was Nelson Aguilar at the 35-yard line.
Yeah, he really has gotten himself into a rhythm, and it's really kind of a credit of what he learned in Chip Kelly's offense, because that was kind of a foundational component of taking what the defense is giving you there. And then Frank Wright, you know, last season talking to him and telling him, listen, you're not that Peyton Manning guy. You're not a dissector of defenses and you know where the ball should go and attacking schemes. You're a guy that drops back and finds the open guy and gets it to him, and that was really beneficial for Nick to hear.
13 straight completions. On first down, Foles will try to make it 14 straight. And he's going to go down. Sack for the Redskins at the 40-yard line. He hesitated, and then Sean Deion Hamilton, the rookie from Alabama, knocked him down.
It's another example of the coverage that the Redskins secondary is playing with today. And Josh Adams is in pass protection. Got to keep working on that. You know your quarterback's moving around, so you got to just lock onto your guy and finish, because right now this secondary for the Redskins doing a nice job in coverage.
I mean, the possession time is nearly 3-1. Eagles have had the ball over the Redskins. It's only a 3-0 game. After a loss of 5 from the 40 of Washington. Foles dumps it off to Smallwood. And he fights to get down to the 33-yard line. Short of the first down, but closer to field goal range and a more realistic third down possibility conversion. Eagles have attempted 18 throws in this game, and they've attempted 11 runs. So the ratio favoring the pass. But it's that kind of a game. Under 5 to play before half. Need to get to the 25 for a first down. Extra pressure, dumps it off Smallwood with room to run, and he spins for a first down. And the Eagle fans here at FedEx Field love it. Inside the 25 of the Redskins.
Yeah, just trust your guys around you to go out and make plays. You're trying to get the ball downfield. This is 3rd and 8. You can see right now they're going to blitz, so it's in man-to-man. So you've got a lot of area when you drop that ball down to Wendell Smallwood. Trust that he's going to make the run after the catch to get you the first down.
3rd catch of the game for Smallwood, lifelong Eagle fan. Grew up admiring in Wilmington, Delaware. He was admiring Deuce Staley, and Brian Westbrook was his position coach, Staley. As Sproles checks back in, Aguilar in motion. Sproles gets inside the 20-yard line. Mason Foster brings him down.
As you pointed out, the Eagles right now dominating with yardage and control time and time of position, but it's only 3-0. This is critical right now for this team to be able to get a touchdown right here and make this a 2-possession game.
Doug Peterson's offense has over 180 yards already, total yards in this game. For Jay Gruden, his team has yet to reach 25 yards of total offense. High snap handled. Sproles has it. Met right away and shoved back at the 20-yard line.
Now, you never know what's going to happen from play to play. And when you're controlling the game like this, with the stakes that are involved and what each season has been to these two teams, the longer you allow a team like the Redskins to stay in this game, you give them the opportunity to make one of those momentum swing change plays, and all of a sudden all that hard work you've put in kind of goes away.
So far the Redskin defense is carrying them, but Peterson, who would love to, he's got some trick plays up his sleeve. We just don't know when we're going to see them. On 3rd and 5 in field goal range, Zach Ertz has yet to catch a pass. He's been targeted once. Foles dumps it off short. And Ertz, let's see where they spot it. Not enough for the first down.
Well, this will be an interesting decision for Doug Peterson. You talked about it on that last opportunity when they kicked the field goal instead. Get your points there. Now you've got your points, but you haven't gotten anything with all the yards and all the time of possession. Looks like he's going to go right here.
Yep, they've been good 59% of the time. And again, only the one other team has gone for it more than the Eagles on 4th down. Protecting a 3-0 lead, a 4th down decision. It appears the Eagles are going for it. FISA halftime report coming up. The Chiefs with a 21-0 lead can nail down the top seed in the AFC. The Ravens are leading the Browns by 10. They can lock up the AFC North. The Steelers trail Cincinnati. But the big picture here, it's so far so good for the defending Super Bowl champs, because the Bears lead Minnesota 7-0 under 8 minutes to play before the half in that game. And the Eagles with a 3-0 advantage and going for it on 4th and short from the 15 of Washington. And as you know, an Eagle win and a Viking loss, and Philly's back in it.
Great effort by Zach Ertz to put him in the position to make this decision to go for it on the 4th.
Foles keeps and surges forward. First down.
You know, not just the simple quarterback sneak style, right? You got trips out to the right, you motion Nelson Aguilar back in, you make the defense think a little bit, and then a great surge. by that offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Clock running here. Each team with 3 timeouts. Smallwood the back. The Eagles may have.
False start. Offense. Number 61. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Wisniewski, who is in at the left guard spot for Isaac Seumalo.
But it looked like it wasn't a clean QB center exchange either between Jason Kelce and Nick Foles.
Kind of a timeout. I think Doug Peterson wants that just to discuss on 1st and 15. Yeah, and a big swing at this moment in the game, Darryl. From the standpoint that you just talked about, you dominate against the Redskins, and you just don't want to add 3. If you get 7, it's a big mountain to climb for this Redskin offense. Offensive penalty inside of 2 minutes to avoid the 10-second runoff. Doug Peterson used the timeout instead. Wants that to work with. And the continuing domination and time of possession. But that's only worth bragging about if you score at the end of it.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're forced into a field goal here, it's still a 1-possession game, even with the ball, as long as they've had it.
On 1st and 15, Sproles gets inside the 15, inside the 10, and knocked out around the 7-yard line.
Yeah, just coming at the Redskin defense with a number of different runs. You've seen the power inside. We've seen some stuff that gets on the edge very quickly. And here we are on the edge again. Really nice job by Jason Peters with the feel right there. With Preston Smith, 94, the defensive end, lined up across from him. He knows if he goes inside, he's not going to tackle Darren Sproles on the edge. So he's able to get up to that second level, be more effective.
Now, this drive already has taken more than 11 minutes. This drive alone. And the Eagles want to use up the clock and score. And they're set to receive the second half kickoff. Foles, inside handoff, Smallwood, and Smallwood fighting, knocked back as he got the first down, but not the touchdown. And a timeout, Eagles, 33 seconds. Eagles with a 3-0 advantage, trying to get more and keep playoff hopes alive. Things are falling right for the Eagles. The Bears with a 13-0 lead. Missed extra point there over the Vikings in Minnesota. If that were to hold and the Eagles were to hang on and win here, last spot in the NFC playoffs goes to Philadelphia. They just showed it on the scoreboard here, which is filled with Eagle fans along with Redskin fans. But a big cheer went up for the defending Super Bowl champs.
And the other part of that whole equation is right now the Chargers, or the Rams up 21-3 on San Francisco. So do the Chicago Bears make any types of adjustments there? I don't think so. I think they're going to play that game to win.
One timeout left, Eagles. Nobody to hand it to. Foles throws, end zone, catch, he held on. It's a touchdown. Alshon Jeffrey.
Great location on the throw by Nick Foles on the move. Wanting to go underneath, and really good job defensively to get Wendell Smallwood, so he goes to his next option. Josh Norman's in good coverage and able to get it through there. Great job by Alshon Jeffrey at the point of the catch.
Yeah, I mean, Norman had his arm in there. He's only 6 feet. Jeffrey at 6'3" and has the reach with those arms. What an excellent play. Those two have a great chemistry, Jeffrey and Foles. The extra point from Elliott, who's already hit a field goal today. And it's looking good for the defending champs. 10-0. And the Bears continue to lead Minnesota by the score of 13-0 as they go late into the second quarter. Well, it was a magical moment for the Eagles last year when Wentz was injured and Foles took over. This is more than just Foles' team. There's a real comfort level with this Eagle team. Doug Peterson talked about the veterans when they hit the crossroads of the season, how they pulled together and are playing some of their best football.
Yeah, it's amazing how sometimes adversity really kind of forges that team together. They got blown out by the Saints. The next week against the Giants, they're down 19-3. And at that point, you know, if you don't win that game, it's over. I mean, you're not going to have anything to play for. So the veteran leadership kind of, you know, angered by their performance against the Saints, but then against the Giants, they'll all say that was the defining moment of this season. So in back-to-back weeks, this team kind of came together. They've gotten healthier, and as we said at the top, everybody else in the NFC, you don't want to see this team right now. They're very confident.
And the little reminder about running the football, you just saw that's their longest drive of the season in terms of, you talk about time of possession. They got the result the Eagles wanted with a touchdown. And now kicking off, and it'll be a touchback. Tomorrow, the Red Box Bowl. Oregon and Michigan at 2:30 Eastern at Fox. College football bowl games on FS1. The Utes, these Utes from Utah, take on Northwestern in the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. That's at 6:30 Eastern, streaming on the Fox Sports app. Michigan State taking on Oregon in the Red Box Bowl on Fox. And the domination by Philadelphia paying off.
2-7, 2-7.
All three timeouts for Josh Johnson, who's hit as he throws, and it's incomplete. The pressure by Brandon Graham, and they're going to rule it. They should rule it as an incompletion. Let's double check here.
Josh Johnson saying that his hand was going forward.
And it was.
Yep.
But the Eagle defense, the one constant, as the Eagles are discussing the ruling. Let's see with Craig Ralstad.
By rule, the ball will be returned to the spot of the fumble. Second down.
Now wait a minute, they're calling that a fumble?
Yeah, sure looked like it was incomplete.
Arm was going forward.
Hey, Ringo, 5-3.
Inside 2 minutes.
It's going to be a booth review.
The previous play is under review.
And they should take a closer look at that.
Yeah, we talked about the margin of error for Jay Gruden and his team, and again, just plays like that. You know, 2nd and 10 is a lot better for this group than 2nd and 17 or 1st and 17.
I mean, the Redskins have -3 rush yards in the first half of this game. They've held the ball for less than 6 minutes. And Josh Johnson has suffered an interception. And the ruling on the field, it looked like they initially said incomplete, but then they said it was a fumble, arm forward.
And that ball is in his hand the whole time as it comes forward.
It has not redirected the ball itself, and the defender, Graham, does not get his hands on the ball. We have our rules analyst, Dean Blandino, who did this for the NFL and does this for Fox. Dean, how do you see this?
Remember, the rule is the hand coming forward with control starts the forward passing motion. To me, it does look like he has control of the football. The hand starts forward. You can see it coming up here on this angle. Watch the hand. Does he have control of it right there? Forward passing motion starts. To me, this is an incomplete pass. They'll reset the clock and go back to the previous spot.
All right, thank you, Dean. That's what they should do. Let's listen.
After review, the quarterback had control of the ball as the ball is coming forward. Therefore, it is an incomplete pass. Timer, please reset the game clock to 25 seconds. It'll be 2nd down.
Replay working as it should. 25 seconds, all 3 timeouts. Remember, Washington, to start the second half, will be kicking off to the Eagles. That Bears score 13-0 under 3 minutes to go before the half. Rams are up 21-3 at home against the 49ers to nail down the 2nd seed in the NFC. It's a delay in a crowd as Chris Thompson spins and is knocked out short of a first down up around the 33-34 yard line. Quick timeout by Washington with 20 seconds remaining. Wanted to go back to what we touched on, a key turning point, and after that embarrassing loss that the Eagles had to the Saints. I mean, Doug Peterson said, look, I was angry, the team was angry, you can go one way or the other. Our committee, our players committee, which has certain veterans on it, such as a Chris Long, a Carson Wentz, and Malcolm Jenkins, put it in their hands, challenged them, And they responded. He said the defensive line obviously has been a constant. Other players had to step up, but then coming in winning 4 of their last 5, and the only loss, that overtime loss to Dallas, has changed their season around and put them in position for the playoffs.
Yeah, not just angry, embarrassed too. I mean, that's what you put out that day against that Saints team.
Eagles jump.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense, number 55. This 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
Brandon Graham, who put the pressure on last time on Josh Johnson, a little eager this time, up at the 39-yard line. Just 2 first downs for Washington in this first half compared to 14 by the Eagles.
Ringo, 2-7.
Johnson's throw to Chris Thompson, and he led him too much, incomplete. Johnson 2 out of 9. And as I mentioned, the running game, Adrian Peterson has only had 3 attempts. Peterson, who surpassed the 1,000-yard mark, played in all 16 games at age 33.
That's one of the reasons that they were so competitive last week against Tennessee, was the success of the running game. They could build off that. Haven't had that today.
And dumps it off on the run, but Thompson is tackled right away by Michael Bennett. An excellent play. And the clock running. It looks like the Redskins will let the half run out. And the Eagles, the playoff possibility is coming closer into focus for Philadelphia. Oh, look at the play of the first half presented by DirecTV. FedEx Field, and the Eagles with a 10-0 lead, about ready to receive the second half kickoff. That touchdown drive right before the half, their longest of the season in number of plays, 19, and in time, nearly 12 minutes. Boston Scott to receive from Dustin Hopkins. Eagles with the lead, and the Bears are beating the Vikings 13-3 at the half, which would work in their favor. Philadelphia win, Viking loss, and the Eagles are back in the playoffs to try and go back-to-back for a Super Bowl title. Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers, 17 consecutive completions for Nick Foles. Redskin defense has played pretty well. Eagle defense has played better.
Yeah, Nick Foles has gotten into that rhythm that he's talked about, and that's not good news for the Redskins. But one of the things I thought that was important in our conversations this weekend, and Laura mentioned this at the top, Doug Peterson, don't lose focus on what we need to do during the course of the game. And that last drive was just phenomenal because they played really well, but they didn't have a whole lot to show for it at that time.
And I think Doug Peterson, patience with the run, and I think he knows his defense against a Redskin offense that is limited. He can play things a little bit more close to the vest. They did go for it on a 4th down to continue that drive and convert it, as they hand off here to Josh Adams, who fights hard to get up across the 30-yard line. Laura?
I asked Doug Peterson, you dominated in yards, you dominated in time. Why were points so hard to come by? He said, we self-destructed early, saying we had that interception, that turnover, but we settled down and settled in. We've got to now run the ball and execute in the red zone. Jay Gruden said first downs have been terrible on both sides of the ball. We got to get a drive together offensively and keep our defense fresh.
All right, thank you. Foles, 17 straight completions. That's 1 completion away from the Eagle single game record. Donovan McNabb completed 18 straight. Adams with a first down run up to the 39-yard line.
And that's what you want to be able to do with your run game. You can be patient with it. You can commit to it. You can get stubborn with it. However your coaches want to make that connection. The big thing is being able to run the football effectively when the defense knows that's what you're going to do. So that's what they're going to try to do here in the second half. How much success do they have in that run game?
And the Eagles, who had the football nearly 25 minutes compared to 6 for the Redskins. So that Washington defense may be wearing down. Even with a halftime break, Josh Adams is back in. Foles, 18 straight completions as Adams gets a first down near midfield. That ties an Eagle single game record. Let's get a game break with Carissa.
Thanks so much, Chris. So while you guys were at half, the Vikings trying to chip away at the Bears' lead. Dan Bailey hits this 45-yard field goal to put the Vikings on the board, down 10 at half. You know the deal. They need a win to get in. Chris?
All right, we're watching it closely, as are the Eagle fans and Eagle players here that have a chance to glance up at the scoreboard. Rams with a 28-3 lead nearing the half, so they'll lock up the 2 seed behind the number 1 seed, New Orleans, of the NFC.
180. What's up?
Wendell Smallwood into a crowd as the clock continues to run. Also over in the AFC, Kansas City at the half, 21-3. You saw in the Visa halftime report, they hang on to win. They get the top seed, and the Patriots, who won and are waiting, get a first-round bye. They would be the 2nd seed in the AFC. Chargers leading Denver 7-3 at the half. Ravens up on the Browns 20-7. Bengals lead Pittsburgh 10-3 at the half. And Seattle, the 5 seed, has a 1-point lead over the Cardinals at halftime. Zach Ertz in motion. He has 1 catch so far today. Make that 2. And still finally down, but the whistle blew before he got inside the 45.
And when you've got pressure, it's always good to have somebody you can count on to get the ball to quickly. And you're going to watch the blitzer, right? 51's going to come through clean and get a free run right at the quarterback. And you've got a solution right there with Zach Ertz to get the ball to.
And Foles, with this completion, a single-game Eagle record, consecutive completions of 19 straight. Over a 2-game mark, McNabb owns that at 24 consecutive. Smallwood trying to get the first down, shoved backward. It'll be 3rd and short. Make that 4th down, excuse me, and the Alshon Jeffrey, looks like the Eagles are pointing as if they want to go for it.
Worked for him in the first half.
They have a lot of plays when a first down is needed on 4th down.
It's one of the other elements that Eagle fans have talked about. The success the last 2 games, beating the Rams, beating the Texans, playoff teams, was not only the play of the team, but also Doug Peterson's approach. More aggressive with his play calls, more consistent. Showing that again here this afternoon.
And it does instill more confidence in an Eagle team. At least players have said that. Now this may change things. Oh boy, penalty here. Looks like they took too long, or did they get a timeout? Nope.
Delay game. Offense. Number 9. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
So now was that intent? Did he just try to draw him off and say, hey, we'll set up our punter?
No, not at all, because the play was in motion, you know, kind of late when the delay game happened. So that was bad communication, bad execution by the offense.
Eagles miss cue, so they line up to punt with Johnston and Crowder back at the 10-yard line. Opening second half drive stalls. Fair catch called for, and inside the 10, that's where Washington will take over on offense. You look back over the years of these 2 teams going at it, Randall Cunningham, and a lot more. Riggins among those greats that played. The Vikings are losing at home at halftime, trailing by 10, and the Eagles are winning 10-0 here. If they hold up, Eagles are back into the postseason. We'll watch this closely throughout the afternoon on Fox. Final regular season Sunday, and the Eagles, people were kicking dirt on them 5 or 6 weeks ago.
What's up?
Adrian Peterson carries with our producer Fran Morrison, director Brian Lilly, Daryl Johnston, Chris Marnes, our entire crew. And good to be a part of a game on the final Sunday that the last spot in the NFC for a playoff position is up for grabs between the Vikings and Eagles. And for the Redskins, who look like they might run away in the NFC East after the 10-week mark, dealing with injuries, among other setbacks. Just trying to finish at 8-8.
What's up?
Josh Johnson will keep. And it'll be 3rd down. He got him across the 15-yard line. Corey Graham brought him down.
Looking for that crossing route in the intermediate level, but defended well by the Eagles. I agree with the decision by Josh Johnson to pull that down, try and get something positive with your legs. Can't have a turnover this deep in your own territory at this stage of the game.
He's only run 3 times today, Darryl. Adrian Peterson has 4 carries, and they've yet to convert on a 3rd down, 0 for 3. See the lopsided total yards. Fortunate to be in this game. If they're, thankfully for Washington, their defense is hung tough. Johnson. There's a flag down and incomplete. It'll be 4th down. He was trying to get to Jamison Crowder. Redskin offense is out of sync, and the Eagle defense is putting the heat on.
Holding offense number 71. The penalties declined. The result of the play is 4th down.
Eagles should get the ball back in excellent field position with Sproles standing inside the 35 of the Eagles. Waving everybody away. It's a short kick that bounces and rolls down inside the 32 of Philadelphia, where they will take over. Eagles with the advantage over Washington, getting closer to the playoffs. Nick Foles said run it out of the tunnel with the link being an Eagles' greatest moment. He's had a lot of them. 7 touchdown passes in a game. Went to the Pro Bowl in 2013. 23-12 record as a starter, including the postseason. That notable win, Super Bowl MVP, in which the Eagles outlasted the Patriots, and he's got 19 straight completions. The NFL record, it's already an Eagle single game record. NFL record is 25 straight in a single game. Ryan Tannehill and Phillip Rivers did it this year for the Chargers. More importantly, wants to lock this game up and get back to the postseason. And he completes another one to the 39-yard line as Zach Ertz.
Well, that was a great location on that pass. Sean Dion Hamilton thought he had the interception, and Zach Ertz is able to steal it from him. Watch, it's going to be thrown low and left. Here comes Sean Dion Hamilton around the right side, and he can't get there.
The career of Nick Foles, a lot of ups and downs. He never thought he'd come back to Philadelphia and have the kind of moment that he had last year, and has another chance this year with another run. And realistic, and speaking with him last night, that he sees in the big picture that unlikely he'll be back with the Eagles next year. Josh Adams fights to get to the 39-yard line.
I think the big thing is how open he was about losing the love of the game. You know, football is a very challenging sport. You practice a lot and don't get a lot of game time. And, you know, he talked about in 2015 of kind of walking away from the game. His wife convinced him to give it one more shot. He called Andy Reid. He brought him in, and really the rest is history. But, I mean, that's how close he was at the end of the 2015 season to walking away from the game of football.
You asked him how close. He said 100% close. His wife, Tori, they thought it over. When he accepted the role of being a backup, that helped, and now has worked his way into a bigger role as he completes another one. Golden Tate spinning and still going out of bounds for a 1st down. See where they spot this. It's going to be a 1st down either way. It looked like he crossed midfield.
And this is an element to this offense that they, you know, really haven't been able to really get engaged. But I think Golden Tate, if everything does work out the way the Eagles are hoping it does today and they get into the playoffs, I just think that his role continues to expand. I mean, this becomes a very difficult offense to defend with the number of weapons they can put at you on the outside.
And that point guard mentality Foles talked about, 8 different receivers. A flip to Aguilar. The Redskins couldn't nail him behind the line, although he is hustled out of bounds around midfield. And let's head to Laura.
I think that's also, some players get so frustrated when they're asked all the time about next year, if it's retirement, if it's about another team. And Nick's really staying focused, saying, I want to stay in the moment. I'm staying in the present. I will talk with my wife about why after the season. But he also admitted to us that my body knows, your heart knows. You know, I see the stadium when I'm driving by, the house that my daughter has been raised in. I'm taking stock of those moments, and I do want to soak it in and slow it all down right now.
Realistic, though, about moving on at age 29. And right now, He needs to snap the ball, and he does just in time. His 23rd straight completion. And it goes to Jeffrey for a first down. And here's a guy already with an Eagle record, 4 400-yard passing games. And he's adding to a possible, well, to an Eagle record of completions, maybe an NFL record consecutive completions.
Alshon Jeffrey coming across in motion, trying to get him loosened up from that defense. And yeah, he talked to us about rhythm. And, you know, the important thing for me at the beginning of the game is trying to find that rhythm. Boy, is he in a rhythm right now.
A gain of 19. Adams knocked down at the 31 of Washington as the clock continues to run. And when you look back, he talked about some of the coaches along the way. Chris Long, a teammate of his with the Rams, said, man, you know, through it all, he stood strong.
Yeah, that was the tough stretch right there. And as you pointed out, Chris, you know, Chris Long was there. So when he came in, we asked him, he said, hey, you were there with Nick in 2015. How was he? Was he different? He goes, that's the great thing about Nick Foles. He was upbeat. He was positive. We didn't know that he was struggling and was starting to lose the love of the game at that time. He never let the teammates see that.
He called him relentlessly positive, at least outwardly. Foles flips the other way and completes to Adams, who's going to get to the 20-yard line for another Eagle first down and another completion. The string continuing for Foles.
Just methodical. I mean, to have a drive like they had to end the first half and then to come back out and have another great drive like they're having here, that's very impressive. And, you know, we talk about rhythm. We use that word very casually, but you know, this is something that he takes very, very seriously, and you can see the impact it has on this offense.
And you know, he and Doug Peterson would rather be throwing that ball downfield. I mean, he's the big play quarterback. His chemistry with Alshon Jeffrey, we've seen it today. And yet he's patient as this completion ties an NFL record. 25 consecutive pass completions equals the Tannehill-Rivers record for a one-game mark as Tate hauled that in.
Again, just going through that progression and a good feel, understanding your receivers running through windows, and that's another thing is pieces were added to this offense is the whole group getting to know each other in and out of the lineup because of injuries. It's hard to build that chemistry that allows you to throw 25 straight completions.
Meanwhile, moving closer to another Eagle score. Smallwood just short of the first down. They're in the third quarter, under 10 minutes to go in Minnesota. The Bears with a 10-point lead. Rivers credited to a number of coaches, including Doug Peterson, but Frank Reich, the key, who could be coach of the year for the Colts, who are trying to get into the playoffs. They play later tonight against Tennessee, but he's the guy who tapped into what his strength was, and he says made Nick more self-aware of what he does best. Doesn't have to overthink things. On 3rd and 1. Again, forward for Foles and a first down.
It's the most important position on a team, but it's played very differently. We see that every Sunday, you know, across the league, you know, how differently the quarterback position is played by the system that's in place for each team. And it was just really a question of Nick being able to tap into how he should be playing that in Doug Peterson's system.
And that system, look at the domination, ball control as Carson Wentz looks on and certainly has done his part as a teammate for Foles. According to Lehigh Valley Hospital, by the way, the name Carson, since it's coming up on the first of the year, among the top 5 names for babies in and around that area of Pennsylvania. First and goal. Josh Adams hit hard, but that big frame gets near the 5-yard line. DeShazer Everett making the stop. And Adams, looks like he's hurting a little bit, and so is DeShazer Everett. Yeah,
DeShazer Everett has put a couple of big hits on guys during the course of the game, coming up and run support in that middle.
All right, we will check on the injuries on the field. Certainly hope they're okay. DeShazer Everett headed into the injury tent. Had an interception in the first half of the game. Jeremy Reeves, the rookie from South Alabama, comes in to replace him.
Yeah, and that's what the NFL is trying to do with all the rule changes and the emphasis on safety. That was shoulder to shoulder, but boy, you can still get some of those burners or just that impact. Those are two big guys, physical guys meeting in the hole at the point of attack.
Meanwhile, the Eagles have chewed up the clock. Are knocking on the door with Sproles in the backfield. 2nd and goal. Nick Foles, and incomplete. The target was Aguilar, and he said that one's on me. And he finishes his string of 25 consecutive completions on this one.
Yeah, just got it back behind. You can see him in the background with the frustration. He knew he had him open and just had it on that back shoulder.
Almost like he tried to guide that one instead of throw it. Aguilar thinking he would have had the touchdown had he been able to haul it in. Same play. Aguilar, catch made. Couldn't hold on. Out of bounds, incomplete. He thought he crossed the goal line with a football, and he's trying to explain that.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. You know, does he have the possession? This is going back to all those plays we talked about last season. So
control, 2 feet. Football move, the element of time. That looks like a touchdown. And then kicked out afterwards.
Going to the ground, right? Going to the ground, but with the goal line, it comes in. That's a whole different scenario.
Not much of a debate. Ruled incompletion. Here comes a challenge. All right, Doug Peterson. He saw it the way Aguilar did. And why not? That's a 3rd down play, so now it's 4th and goal as they'll take a closer look.
Philadelphia is challenged in ruling on the field of an incomplete pass.
We'll take a closer look. Aguilar in the end zone. Touchdown or not?
A reversal on the call. It's a catch. He's got the 2 feet down, so he's established possession. All he has to do is break that plane, and it's a touchdown. So we're lining up for an extra point.
Foles to Aguilar. 2nd touchdown pass of this game for Nick Foles. After Doug Peterson challenged, they got it right. Our rules analyst Dean Blandino, watching along with us back in Los Angeles, agreed on the overturn that it was a touchdown. And the extra point is good to make it 17-0. Less than a minute and a half remaining in the 3rd. I mentioned Dean Blandino, and you saw it, Dean. A further clarification on the overturn and the touchdown, please.
Yeah, good illustration of the catch. Remember, it's control, both feet, and then having the ball long enough to perform an act common to the game. So you can see control in both feet, and then as soon as he reaches that ball out, he's completed the catch, now becomes a runner, ball breaks the plane, and we have a touchdown.
And if he doesn't get that 2nd step down, Dean, or become that act common to the game, what happens?
It's an incomplete pass. Yeah, he has to have all 3 parts. If he doesn't get all 3, it's incomplete.
Thank you very much, Dean. If we don't talk to you, I know you'll be watching. Have a happy New Year. Certainly the Eagles are headed that way. It's still 13-3 Bears over the Vikings. Under 4 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter in that game in Minnesota. And now a 3-score difference for Washington, a team that has trouble scoring as Eagle fans. Was it about a 2-hour drive down to Pike? They have shown up here at FedEx. Chris Long, an important part of this Eagles success story. NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the Eagles. Looking on, trying to chase down Josh Johnson, whose throw is high, but hauled in across the 30-yard line by Michael Floyd.
And now it's just really tough for the Redskins now. They've got to play the game a certain style. And it's kind of funny. You mentioned this at the top, Chris. It kind of got away from Adrian Peterson. That running game came out more relying on Josh Johnson in the passing game, kind of playing into that strength of the Philly defense with that pressure that they bring in that defensive line.
Well, the quarterback injuries certainly had an effect. Chris Thompson was hit hard. I did talk to Bruce Allen, the team president of this Washington Redskin team, who said that Colt McCoy should recover from his injury for next season. Don't be so sure about Alex Smith after that devastating injury he went through on his return. So they have some decisions to make, as the center Tony Bergstrom, who came in with a knee injury, right guard Tony Bergstrom is in pain.
Well, I think a big one, looking at the last 2 seasons, the number of guys that went on IR. Do the Washington Redskins really take a look at what they're doing in the offseason, how they're approaching things during the entire calendar year? The amount of injuries that Jay Gruden has had to deal with the last 2 years makes it very difficult to evaluate this team.
And just this year, and it's been back-to-back years of 20-plus on injured reserve, and especially when you have more than 1 or 2 at the same position like quarterback, that catches up to you. In fact, Bruce Allen was saying, as Jay Gruden told us, end of the year, I'll sit down with Daniel Snyder and we'll go over the season game by game, our future, whatever the contract status is. And Bruce Allen said it may take a few days considering the injuries. Jay Gruden with a contract, when I said I assume you're back, he said he never knows, but Bruce Allen said you can assume Jay Gruden returns as the Redskins head coach. To get 7 wins out of this team with the injuries they've had, it's an accomplishment. Eagle crowd here at FedEx making noise on 3rd down. Josh Johnson has to get rid of it out of bounds. The pressure was on with 11 seconds remaining. Hester, one of the reserve linemen, coming in on Johnson.
And one of the things we've seen that's happened to Josh Johnson, watch the rush lanes by the Eagle defense as they pressure the quarterback. They kind of collapse on top of him. He can't step up. He can't move forward. And that's what you want to be able to do as a quarterback. If you have to bail out the backside and then wrap around, the advantage goes to the defense. So not only a good pass rush by the Eagles, but good rush lane integrity.
It's a fake punt, and the pass is completed for a 1st down. J.U. Chesson hauls in the completion. Tressway on a fake punt, and the Redskins will keep the football. A little trickery to try and get closer to scoring. At the end of 3, Eagles 17-0.
Good design on the fake by Ben Kotwica. Well, you got motion right there. That's Avonte Maddox, the starting safety. Gets him to turn his back. And then nice timing on a little speed out with the punter and the gunner.
Tressway now 2 for 2 in his career, the punter, when it comes to throwing. Doug Peterson said, given the circumstances, we got to be ready for anything. Think of it as a Washington special from their special teams. And a 1st down. Josh Johnson on the run, carrying it wide open. Jamison Crowder, but the ball hung in the air, and it was almost intercepted by Corey Graham.
Hard to get a lot on that one as you're rolling out to your right, and it floated a little bit, gave Corey Graham the opportunity to come in and make a play on the ball. Good job again extending by Josh Johnson. He gets outside the pocket, just can't get it tight enough to get down there, and you can see the recovery by Corey Graham to make that deflection.
Vikings have tightened things up. Down just 3 now against the Bears in the 2nd half. We'll get an update, show you how that happened in just a moment. Eagles are doing their part. They need the Vikings to lose if they want to be back in the playoffs. Johnson's pass and almost intercepted again, a little underthrown. Malcolm Jenkins was back there. Carissa has a game break.
Chris, you just alluded to it. Not what Eagles fans want to see. Kirk Cousins finds Stephon Diggs for this 2-yard score. Vikings still trailing, though, 13-10. Chris?
All right, thank you very much. A 3-point difference. They're still late in the 3rd quarter in that game. 4th quarter here. Eagles, because of some stumbles through the course of the season, and they'll think of Tennessee and Carolina, some games that got away in the 2nd half. They're in this position, but fighting to the finish if they get a win, and that helped with a Viking loss. They're back in the tournament. On 3rd and 10, pressure coming. Chris Long incomplete for Crowder, and it'll be 4th down. Punting unit out.
You don't want to leave any regrets out there. We always talk about at the beginning of the season, you're not going to win a championship in the month of September, but you sure can lose one. And those critical losses to Tennessee and Carolina really having an impact on the Eagles. They found a way to win a couple of games early there to start the season, the first 2 weeks, but Well, they let a couple of them slip through their fingers.
And then some dramatic wins, beating the Rams and the Texans, couple of playoff teams. And that will bounce around the 25 and be down. So the Eagles back on offense, a quarter away from victory. Last time they had the football, Aguilar put it in the end zone. Eagles trying to get in the playoffs as a wild card. Last wild card team to win the Super Bowl, the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. You can see the list of those teams that have historically. The Giants behind Eli Manning, going back to the Raiders and Broncos. And we want to wish a happy, healthy new year to Matt Millen, who has gone through heart surgery, resting, recovering. Played with the Redskins. Of course, it was on that Raider team that we just mentioned that went on to win a Super Bowl as a wild card. One of the good guys in football, always representing himself in the game well. And glad, Matt, that you're doing okay. Got a lot of folks out there rooting for you.
5-3, 5-3.
Smallwood carries and gets up across the 26-yard line. Over 300 total yards of offense for the Eagles, and they're nearing the 100-yard rush mark.
Yeah, but this has been one of those games, and when Doug Peterson is patient with the run, it's not what everybody thinks. It's not going to be a balanced attack. It's going to swing one way towards the pass. And you go back to last week against the Houston Texans, one of the great defenses with a tremendous pass rush. They threw it 49 times, ran it 22. It's the complexion of the game, but he talks about being efficient when he is running the football.
And he says sometimes you'll get a yard, you'll get two. I got to tell the guys it ain't going to be pretty. Foles will keep and get sacked. Ryan Kerrigan, that would be his 13th of the season. And Kerrigan, a perfect segue. He was one of those players, Darryl, when you asked him about DJ Swearinger, who was critical of the defensive coaching staff and maybe the practice habits. He said, no, I don't think that's a problem on this defense. DJ Swearinger, the former safety of this Redskin team, released on Christmas Eve after previous warnings from the head coach about going outside the building to complain about the operation.
Yeah, you don't put the business inside the locker room, outside to the press, and he had been talked to about that by Jay Gruden earlier this season on a couple of occasions. So I applaud him for doing that. He had to. The locker room is the most important part of your team.
Tipped away and incomplete. Pernell McPhee making the nice defensive play.
We've seen him get it over the top a couple of times this game on some of those screen passes, but not on Pernell McPhee that time.
Punting unit comes out, so after a run, a couple of pass attempts, one that Foles couldn't get away, and then one that got knocked away. And just to put a cap on, Swearinger reclaimed by the Cardinals, I say, because he was once with that team. But there's a reason he's with his fifth team over 5 different years. He has tended to, as other coaches say, drifted off on his own and doing his own thing on defense. Crowder on the punt return. And a good return across the 46-yard line. Developing story here as Nick Foles, that last series when he was hit, he's now headed to the locker room. Let's take a look. At the time it didn't seem like much, but they checked him on the sideline and he's in pain.
Yeah, you can see right there as he's taken down, right there, the little bit of a grimace, and you wonder if that's just left over from the Jadeveon Clowney hit from last week, which was just brutal when he took that helmet right in the chest.
He came out for a play and came back to lead the Eagles to the victory over the Texans. Johnson's throw is on target for a first down to the 41 of the Eagles. Josh Doctson with the catch, and a close look at the grimace of pain as they check Foles, who again has gone to the locker room. So Nate Sudfeld, the only other active quarterback for the Eagles. Flag in the air, and Johnson on the ground.
Michael Bennett is going to be offsides. I still can't believe he plays the game with those shoulder pads on.
Offside. Defense, number 77. It's a 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
I would put every pad you afforded me on my body for a game. I mean, that looks like something that my son used to wear when he was playing lacrosse.
Well, you just want to show off the guns.
It's
right?
a shell. Yeah, hey, we're in shells today. I'm in shells every day. Don't worry about it.
He's got 8 sacks this year. Bothered by a foot injury, but toughed it out today for this Eagle defense that has shut out the Redskins. Just over 12 minutes remaining. Vikings still trail by 3. They're in the fourth quarter now against the Bears. Johnson, best scoring opportunity for Washington, and Chris Thompson wasn't even looking.
Well, he actually, that little collision right there was very fortunate for the Washington Redskins, because Avonte Maddox is breaking on that pass, because there was a little bit of a miscommunication between Chris Thompson and Josh Johnson.
Johnson 5 out of 18. He suffered a first quarter interception. Just 44 yards through the air. Total offense for the Redskins, 65 yards. 2nd and 5. The completion short of the first down is Chris Thompson. Nate Sudfeld getting loose over on the Eagles sideline. Originally drafted by the Redskins in 2016. Got in on one play last week. The Eagle backup with Carson Wentz inactive. Johnson jersey pull goes out at the 45-yard line. Michael Bennett. His arms were free. He was able to get through. See, the shoulder pads might have slowed his reach down. That's
it makes
for
him
you.
Skinny. He can turn. He doesn't get caught up. Again, he's working with Chris Long, so you got your 2 speed rushers coming from that same side. Tough matchup for a guard. Usually the tackles are dealing with the guys that have the speed and athleticism of Michael Bennett.
All right, I don't know what that's. If that's a fly, eagle, fly, that's a wounded bird there. First sack of the game for the Eagles. And 4th and 12 now for Washington. Johnson, the ball's out. And the Eagles will take over on downs regardless of who recovered it. Fletcher Cox with the heat on along with Chris Long. And the Redskin offense comes up empty once again. Eagles with the football in the lead.
We just talked about the speed on the left side of the defensive line for the Eagles. Here's the power on the right side. Fletcher Cox just picks up Kyle Fuller and drives him back for the sack.
And only Aaron Donald has pressured the quarterback more times this year than Fletcher Cox, 2 of the best in the game. Nate Sudfeld comes in, and I don't want to overreact, but when Carson Wentz is inactive and Nick Foles leaves injured for the moment, and you're hoping to get back into the playoffs, be watching that injury closely on Foles. Josh Adams carries and a good run to the 40. Laura.
Well, I know, Chris, we were all watching that injury when the camera was on him and we were watching Nick walk into the tunnel. I think everybody, including myself, was looking at that hand of his. He was walking out fine, but when he got into the tunnel, which is private, no one could see, he stopped and almost leaned down to either catch his breath or was in pain, which I wasn't sure about that until I just got the official report. It's a chest injury. His return is questionable. I'll update it if he comes out or if I hear anything else.
All right, thank you very much. Sudfeld, who was cut last September by the Redskins after one season with the team, signed to the Eagle practice squad. And running the show as Josh Adams is running for a first down, and the clock under 10 minutes to go here. Sudfeld, 26 starts in college at Indiana, set a school record there with 61 touchdown passes. It's in his 3rd year in the NFL. Got a lot of work in the preseason, both with Washington and the Eagles. But in the bigger story, under 12 minutes to go in Minnesota, the Bears with a 3-point lead on the football over the Vikings. The Eagles on their way to wrapping this up for their 9th win, but need that Viking loss to get the final playoff spot in the NFC.
8-5-1. 8-5-1. Yeah.
Josh Adams, big hole. Stays in bounds wisely after getting the first down of the 22.
And when you've got your 3rd quarterback on your roster coming in, obviously the second one activated today, but he's number 3 coming into your season, you need to lean on everybody else. Help out your new quarterback. And this offensive line and the running game has really stepped up. Be patient with the run, but be efficient with the run. Right now, they're doing both of those, and it's a great job because Washington knows in this situation that Philadelphia wants to run the football.
Over 120 20 rush yards for Doug Peterson's team. And Nick Foles, remember, he had that string of 25 consecutive completions to equal an NFL single-game record and set the Eagle single-game record. Smallwood knocked down right away. At the 10-minute mark, Bears leading by 3 over the Vikings, and the Eagles defense still wins games when you need them won, as they're proving here. Of course, it's a makeshift offense for Washington with all of their injuries.
But they've gotten their job done. That was the matchup that should have favored Philadelphia. Their defense against an offense that's been decimated by injuries. They did their job today.
Sudfeld's pass is complete. Nelson Aguilar, he's headed to the end zone, and he is in for an Eagle touchdown. His second of the game. Eagle fans who made the trip celebrating with the Eagle team. And the Redskin defense has been worn down. .22-yard catch by Aguilar and into the end zone with the extra point. It's now 24-0.
Well, we just talked about the running game helping out, and watch the impact that has on these two linebackers right here. They're going to flow to try and protect the run. They get caught in the wash. You catch them in man coverage. Nelson Aguilar coming underneath, and you lose your coverage. Good play design, great play action off of those run plays that you would call leading up to that.
The first career multi-touchdown game for Nelson Aguilar. We've seen Alshon Jeffrey make big plays when Foles was in the game, but this from Nate Sudfeld. And the Eagles, who have played more close games, so they had a dozen games decided by 7 points or fewer. That's the most in the NFL. And this one they have well in hand. Didn't want to deal with a close one. Sudfeld wants the football. He said, wait a minute, I threw that. Can we make a deal here? And the kid says, all right, even though he's got
that is tremendous by that young man.
And the young man has a Foles jersey on, wearing number 9. First career touchdown pass for Sudfeld, who wants the football, and thankfully an Eagle fan cooperating with him.
I'll give you this one, but you got to go over there and get me another one and bring it back.
Yeah, give me something. I want an Eagles football. Byron Marshall knocked down. So first he gets a ball. There you go. After the Sudfeld football pass, the pass to Aguilar was given back to him. So this is how good the Eagles are, right? You're down to your third string quarterback, a backup running back who really wasn't in your plans coming into the season, and you're running your way over your division rival in the NFC East and leaving your playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, it's what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to take care of their business. They've come out, they've taken care of their business. The big question is, will the Chicago Bears be able to help them out? And we've talked about this throughout the game. This is a team that's playing well. Now the big question mark, obviously, the Nick Foles injury. How does that play into next week if everything falls into place for the Philadelphia Eagles?
And with Carson Wentz, and it's a back injury, I guess and there's the youngster who got the football.
That's great.
Health-wise in the plans for the Eagles, no matter what they do in the playoffs. Sudfeld could be on the spot. Laura reported a chest injury for Foles, who went to the locker room. When you think about his history, Foles, he had a shoulder injury in the preseason, played in the opener. If you go back in 2014, he had a fractured clavicle that cost him 8 games. In 2013, he suffered a hand injury and had a concussion in 2013, had a hand injury in 2012. So Foles has had his share of injuries over his career. Pass is caught and good enough for a first down. It's Matt Flanagan, a rookie from Pittsburgh. 6 minutes to go. The Bears have added to their lead now. And we'll get an update on that in a moment, because it's no longer a one-score game for the Vikings, who, if they lose, they're out, because the Eagles are winning this one. You heard the crowd going crazy. The Eagle fans here at FedEx Field, they saw the score update on the Bears, 19-10 at the moment. Did that guy have a turnover, a takeaway for the Eagles?
He had an interception in the first quarter.
Okay, I guess that's part of the. Last year was the underdog mask. Can the Redskins get on the scoreboard? Josh Johnson will be brought down at the 37 by Fletcher Cox.
But again, it's Michael Bennett playing that inside position, so they're getting him matched up against a guard, and it's tough. Watch, he's going to come inside on the pass rush. Now he's the one that creates the pressure that gets Josh Johnson out of the pocket, and there's Fletcher Cox coming down the line to clean everything up.
We've seen Michael Bennett and Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham kind of control this game at the line of scrimmage. This is the latest, as the Bears have a 9-point lead under 8 minutes to go. Screen, Chris Thompson, and the leap in the air to get that goes down at the 45, and it will bring up a 4th down.
One of the things that a lot of people have talked about, about this defense and them making improvements and making strides, the number of guys in on the tackle, and a lot of great pursuit by this Eagles defense today.
And they've been outstanding, as Doug Peterson pointed out, too, that the last 4 or 5 games, the takeaway ratio, the turnovers, whether it's been special teams, the defense had an interception earlier, they've done their part. Bears added a 2-point conversion, so it's a 21-10 Chicago lead over the Vikings. 24-0 Eagles here at FedEx. Near the first down marker and wrestled out of bounds. Darvin Kidsey, the rookie from Texas Southern. And good enough for the first down. Just over 3.5. So the Rams are locking up with a 45-17 advantage at home against the 49ers, the 2 seed in the NFC. The Chiefs 35-3 in the 4th over Oakland will get the 1 seed in the AFC with the Patriots. And with the Patriots, when they're a 2 seed, when they get a first round bye, they're usually headed to the Super Bowl one way or another. Open sideline. And out of bounds is Michael Floyd. Kurt Menefee has an update. Kurt.
And as you mentioned, this is why Eagles fans are rejoicing. Tariq Cohen with a little 4-yard score. Bears get the 2-point conversion, and they open up the lead against the Vikings 21-10. Chris, Moose, and Laura, have you mentioned the scenarios for the Eagles making the playoffs at all?
We'll get to that when we have time. We've been enjoying the scene here at FedEx Field. Doug Peterson, tough to get back and repeat his team on the doorstep after people had written off the Eagles and they knew about it. We touched on that Saints blowout and then trailing against the Giants. He called it a galvanizing moment, or it was one that he hoped would, and they took it and ran. How dangerous is this Eagle team heading into the playoffs, assuming that the Vikings continue to lose and this holds up?
Number one thing is how is Nick Foles? What is the health of Nick Foles? Other than that, the one concern I would have is really a consistent running game. Doug has talked about being patient with it. Can they be efficient in the playoffs? That's very important if you're going to make a push.
Pass complete.
Everything else is there. They've got a good defense. Their defensive line, you can see the pressure that they can generate. Now, this is an offensive line that's been decimated by injuries. How are they going to perform against the playoff teams? I think for them, the confidence is going out to the West Coast and beating the Rams, coming back to Philly and knocking off Houston in back-to-back weeks. That was extremely impressive.
Overthrow. And the veterans that went through it last year, obviously with Foles, as you said, there's a confidence in him, especially when they get into the postseason. You've got guys like Zach Ertz that are reliable. Alshon Jeffrey Aguilar's had a big game. That defensive line that's come up big. They've worked through injuries in the secondary. I know their pass defense, they haven't been happy about that, but it's been good enough. And a team that's been through it before. We showed you wild card teams that have made Super Bowl runs and had success. It's a whole new ball game when you start the playoffs. Eagles just hoping they're in it. And that was almost intercepted.
And don't forget, I mean, the big thing is they're as healthy as they've been all year at this point. And obviously, again, it comes back to Nick Foles. What is his situation? If he's good to go, this team is as healthy as they've been all season. Guys were coming. There's a couple more guys that could be back for next week game. You know, a Mike Wallace. You know, the guys that weren't quite ready this week. And there's a number of those guys coming back that were very close this week.
Eagles last year eliminated the Vikings in the NFC Championship game, and in a way they'll be eliminating them again if they win and the Vikings lose to Chicago. Josh Johnson is sacked, and the familiar dance of Fletcher Cox.
Now he's back over here. Gosh, now you're in between the speed, Michael Bennett, Chris Long, and you've got Fletcher Cox in the middle of that. That's tough on the right side of the Washington Redskins offensive line, a group that's been beat up all year by injuries. And Josh Johnson, I give him a lot of credit. You know, he's done a heck of a job coming up here under very difficult circumstances and performing very well, to the point where Chris Long said, I don't really know why this guy's had to wait so long for this opportunity. He had a lot of respect for how he's played under difficult circumstances down the stretch.
He hung in there. That's a fourth sack in this half by the Eagle defense. Bonus coverage will take you out to the Bears and Vikings in Minnesota when this game wraps up, and Eagle fans will be glued to that, as will the Eagle organization. They have dominated from the start. Low scoring opening quarter. Time of possession more than 40 minutes. Eagles have had the football less than 17 for the Redskins, and Doug Peterson, the commitment to the run when he had to. He had Foles and his 25 consecutive completions. And Eagle fans who have supported their team are going to see them back in the postseason if the Bears hang on. A 21-10 Chicago advantage in Minnesota, under 7 minutes to play. And we'll give you that bonus coverage when we wrap up here. Less than 2 minutes remain in the Redskins season, but the Eagles will play on, it so appears. Eagles underdogs against the Patriots. The Philly special. Nick Foles called it the signature touchdown. And Zach Ertz, the touchdown, put them ahead to stay. Eagle defense held on that final Patriot drive, and they win their first Super Bowl title in a thrilling 41-33 game against the Patriots. Patriots are in. Eagles are on their way in, but will have to do it as a wild card as the 6th seed. And if it holds up and the Bears have the football back at an 11-point lead in Minnesota with 6 minutes left, Eagles would play the Chicago Bears in the first round of the playoffs. Trey Burton, the guy who threw the pass, you talk about the Philly special, a member of the Chicago Bears. And good enough for the first down as the clock will run. Last time, there's the update, under 6 minutes to go there in Minnesota. Last time the Eagles defense had a shutout, 2014, was against the Giants. Just another notch in the belt for this team and its fans.
How about Prod Papa, Andy Reid out there in Kansas City? He's going to the playoffs. He's got Doug Peterson possibly going to be there. Matt Nagy's going to be there. The Andy Reid tree is looking pretty good here the last couple of years.
It looked awful for the Eagles after the blowout loss to New Orleans, but then beating the Giants, beating the Redskins, that overtime loss at Dallas, but then beating the Rams in Houston and coming here and flexing their muscles. Whether it was Wentz or Foles, a veteran team back in the playoffs with a win here and less than 5 minutes to go in Minnesota. Again, bonus coverage coming up there. But the Eagles play on. And we certainly will keep a close watch on the health of quarterback Nick Foles.
That will be the number one factor moving forward, because as Doug Peterson told us yesterday, we are playing our best football of the season right now.
Nate Sudfeld coming in relief, throwing a touchdown pass. 24-0 as the clock ticks, and the Bears have added a field goal. They lead now 24-10 in Minnesota with less than 4.5 to play. That bonus coverage is coming up, but Darryl and I will have more from FedEx Field on the Eagles' victory in just a moment. We're glad you're watching the NFL on Fox.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the post-game show presented by Rico. Chris McPherson alongside former Eagles linebacker Ike Reese. And the anticipation is in the air. I'm a little jittery at the moment. The Eagles take care of their own business, shutting out Washington by a score of 24-0. First shutout for the Eagles since 2014 against the New York Giants. Really no contest once Alshon Jeffrey hauled in the touchdown at the end of the first half. We're going to break that down, but right now, the Bears are helping the Eagles out, leading Minnesota 24-10 with 4.5 minutes remaining. And of course, if the Bears hold on to beat the Vikings, the Eagles are in the playoffs, and they will face Chicago at Soldier Field some point next weekend. So we're going to keep you abreast of what's going on. We're going to hear from head coach Doug Peterson, and we don't know which quarterback we're going to hear from, because the one thing that we're going to have to follow throughout the rest of the afternoon here is Nick Foles exited the game with a chest injury. We don't know how severe it is. So obviously we're all excited that the Eagles have a chance to possibly continue their season if the Bears can hold on. But then the questions will begin. How serious is this injury? We're going to hear from Coach Peterson, but I wonder if we're going to hear from anyone before we find out the final result of this game. Minnesota is taking the field on offense right now. Again, we're going to keep you up to date with everything that's going on in that game. I feel like that's going to happen, but let's talk about the Eagles taking care of business. We all wonder whether the focus would be in the right place. Would they be scoreboard watching? But they went down to Washington and never gave this team a chance to get into the ball game. A very undermanned team, especially on offense for Washington. Josh Johnson, first pass of the game, first play of the game, intercepted by Rasul Douglas, setting the tone today for the shutout.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game, Chris, that you knew the only concern you had was that would the Eagles play down to the level of their competition. And thankfully they didn't. They played like the team that's been on a nice little roll, now winning 5 out of their last 6 games. They knew they had to go in there and take care of business against an inferior opponent. Really got off to a little bit of a slow start. Give Washington's defense a lot of credit. At least they came and played as if they wanted to win the game, but Washington just didn't have enough on offense. Eagles defense just dominated throughout the game, not allowing Josh Johnson to breathe at all today, and Nick Foles doing what he did the last 3 weeks, which was really being on a hot streak. Did he wind up
25.
Did he tie the record?
He tied the record.
I know it was at 24 at one point. I didn't know if he had tied it or not. So yeah, him tying the consecutive completion percentage record. Donovan did it over 2 games. Nick has the single game record plus the overall
for
consecutive
NFL,
completion.
correct.
Yeah, so 25. So nice job by the offense today, just methodically taking care of the Redskins. I think about that touchdown drive. I think it was right before the half.
Yes.
19 plays over 11 minutes, resulting in a touchdown to Alshon Jeffrey.
Here we
there,
go.
right?
19 plays. 87 yards,
Yeah.
11:49. 11:49.
That's unbelievable.
Taken off with almost the entire second quarter. 8 first downs. It was the longest drive in terms of time and plays by the Eagles since 1999. And Alshon Jeffrey with a man catch, man's catch in the end zone, taking the ball from Josh Norman and coming away with a touchdown. And at that point, having a 10-0 lead at halftime, you knew this was ball game.
Yeah.
Two-score
game.
Two-score game. Eagles were getting the ball back. You knew it was going to be all said and done right there. If it were a one-possession game, you might say to yourself, we're a little concerned, all right? You're letting Washington hang around here. But the Eagles taking care of business, getting that drive finished off with a touchdown to give themselves the 10-point lead going into halftime. Update from Minnesota, Kirk Cousins was just drilled to the ground. There was an incomplete pass. We're now seeing a 4th and 10 situation there, but an injury timeout right now for the Bears as a player is being attended to on the field. So key play coming up for Minnesota, facing 4th and 10, just 3:39 remaining, trailing 24-10. If Minnesota doesn't get this first down, that might be game over. And what's fascinating is that game's taking place at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, where the Eagles won the Super Bowl back in February. The Vikings going all in on Kirk Cousins with the guaranteed contract, thinking this was the guy that pushed them over the top. And the Vikings have not delivered today in any way whatsoever. The Bears, now, they're not going to be able to get the number 2 seed. They had something at the beginning of the day to play for. If they won and the Rams lost, the Rams manhandled the 49ers, so no chance there. The Rams will be the number 2 seed in the NFC. So Bears locked in at that number 3 seed, but saying, you know what? We can take our division rival and wipe them out of the playoffs before the tournament gets underway there.
Yeah, former Eagles assistant, good friend of Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy, great job today. Yeah, said he would play his guys, and I'll give him even more credit for continuing to play his guys. I had this feeling all week that regardless of that score in the second half of that Rams game, if this game was close, most coaches want to win. They want to finish out playing strong, and the Bears and the Vikings game have been tight all game. And so you get to this point in the game, regardless of what the Rams are doing in their game, I felt like the Bears would finish this game out with their starters and try to go into the playoffs with some momentum. They had a great defensive effort today. Listen, just turned the Vikings over on downs again.
Yes!
So that game is pretty much over. In Minnesota, 2-score game. It's not official yet, but listen, Bears take care of business. Eagles take care of business against the Redskins. And coming down the stretch, listen, after that Cowboys game, we didn't know what this season would end up being.
Correct.
After that heartbreaking loss.
I can't hold that right now. Like, come on now.
Celebrate, man.
Yeah.
Be excited.
Not yet. We got a few minutes, still a few minutes to go. 3:34 left. But
well, we need one of those Giants collapses in order.
Yeah, don't even have that answer in my mind.
Don't even throw it out there.
Late game collapse have hurt the Eagles enough this season. We don't need another one there in Minnesota.
Team, yeah.
Exactly.
I agree. But if the Bears can hold on, what a great finish to a season. Defending champions look like they may have the opportunity to actually go and defend their title in the postseason.
Just get a chance. That's all you want at this point is a chance in the tournament. And the Eagles, one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now, because you mentioned that Cowboys game. They lose that game in overtime. You figure done deal. They lost the season series. They were swept by the Cowboys. Really no chance to win the division whatsoever. And then you were looking at the schedule. Have to go to Los Angeles. Have to host Houston, winning the AFC South Division title and still have a chance for one of the top 2 seeds. And then you close out with Washington. You figure that the way the team has been playing, maybe they get one of those games between, LA or Houston, but they just not played consistent football throughout the course of the season. So you had a hard time saying this team was going to go on a run here to finish off the season. But going to the West Coast, getting that win, dominating Jared Goff and the LA Rams offense, which has been putting up close to 37 points per game at that point in the season, well, that dominating effort followed up by being able to eke out the win over Houston the following week gave this team the sense of confidence that, look, there's good players. There's championship-level players in that locker room. Things took a little longer than you would have wanted for everything to gel to come together, but you want to be playing your best football. The cliche is you want to be playing your best football in the month of December, and the Eagles are doing that right now. I'm sure part of me was wondering that I'm happy that Matt Nagy and the Bears went out and wanted to win this game today, but part of me almost wondered who would we rather see in the playoffs? Because LA did that last year. Yeah. LA on purpose figured we have a chance to possibly win our wild card game and then go to Philadelphia to take on Nick Foles and the Eagles. We'll take that any day of the week. So they kind of backed their way into the playoffs to set up that matchup. And then remember, they lost in the wild card round to Atlanta, so that matchup with the Rams never materialized. Well, all of a sudden here, Minnesota, look, they win and get in, but the Bears are like, you know what, we're not even going to give them the chance. We're not going to play around. We're going to make sure that they get out. So we have a little over 3 minutes remaining. The Bears go 3 and out, being conservative, trying to run time off the clock. They're going to have to punt the ball. So the Bears maintain a 24-10 lead, but Kirk Cousins and the offense will get the ball back once again, Ike.
Yeah, and the Vikings don't have any timeouts. They had to use all of their timeouts right there. So even if they were able to muster up a touchdown on this series, they're going to need an onside kick in order to get the ball back or the game is over. It's going to be difficult for Minnesota to pull this game off. The Eagles taking care of business today, and then the Bears going out and taking care of business. Eagles hot team right now. I guarantee you nobody wants to see the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending champions, with a little swagger, got their swagger back. If they can get into the postseason, that's all they want. They just want a chance to get in. They know that they are championship tested. They know that they can overcome all odds. Underdogs at home, all 3 post games last year, 2 post games at home, and then even in the Super Bowl, I think they were a touchdown underdog, or at least in each one of those games. So this team knows how to overcome adversity. If they're able to get in, this year, it's going to be an even more difficult task because you're looking at 3 road games you're going to have to play in order to try to get to Atlanta.
One at a time.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
The biggest thing is, yes, that will be the case.
But the goal is to win the Super Bowl.
The goal is to win the Super Bowl, and this takes me back to the very beginning of the season. Alshon Jeffrey was not on the field for the Eagles. He missed the first 3 games while overcoming the rotator cuff surgery he had in the offseason, playing with that injury in all of 2017. Well, at the beginning of the season, he went up to the offense and said, the season begins with Atlanta, and it needs to end in Atlanta, okay? They opened the season with a win over the Falcons. It looks like that they are a couple minutes from getting into the playoffs here, and they will have a chance to get themselves down to Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta. But first things first, the Bears still have to finish off the Vikings. Still a couple minutes. We have 2:33 remaining in the game. Bears have the 24-10 lead. Minnesota does have the football at this point. So, the big question is going to be with Doug Peterson, what to do at quarterback here. Because, again, we have to wait to find out the injury prognosis there for Nick Foles. Again, he took a hit to the chest on a drive, came out of the game, was evaluated on the sidelines, went with the trainers to the locker room. He was declared by the team as questionable to return with a chest injury. So it could be a situation where, quite simply, the game was at hand, okay? Maybe they said, this game's wrapped up. Defense is pitching a shutout. We've got more than 2-score lead. Let's just go out and finish the game with Nate Sudfeld.
Oh, sure, he wasn't coming back in the game.
No, that's what I'm saying. But that could be the case. It could be as simple as that. As you know what? Maybe he just gets some rest, and we'll see what happens with the game between the Bears and the Vikings, and he'll be out there. So Minnesota has a first down, first and 10 situation, flag on the field, play going on. It was a pass to Cook over the middle, waiting to see what the result of the play here because Cook dropped the ball. Looks like it was going to be a apparent fumble. Ball goes out of bounds, so we're waiting to see what the flag is on this play. So we're under 2 minutes to go there. Matt Nagy on the sidelines yelling at the referees, but nonetheless, Minnesota has the ball. Again, still down 24-10. So again, if the Eagles win, or I'm sorry, the Eagles have won, so if Minnesota loses to Chicago, the Bears hold on for the victory. The Eagles will be in the playoffs as the 6th seed, and they will go to play Chicago at Soldier Field next weekend. Date, time, all that stuff to be determined. So there's the box score of what's going on in the game right now. So the Bears, give them credit, though, again, with, at this point, nothing to play for, still being able to go out there and take care of business on the road to try to get a division rival out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they are playing to the end. They know they have to play next weekend, so they're not going to get the bye week. So, it's something to be said about a team keeping some momentum going, keeping the rhythm going, and his defense has played so well today in Minnesota. Matt Nagy certainly doesn't want to rob them of a victory because they have basically shut down this Vikings offense. So you want to sort of reward your defensive players for coming out and giving you a nice day's work and try to hold on to this victory. So I like the fact that he's kept Mitchell Trubisky in, he's kept Jordan Howard in, he's kept Tariq Cohen in. They've been able to keep the ball, run the ball, run some of this clock off, even going for it on 4th down. So they're out there actually trying to win the game and put the Vikings away. So hats off to Chicago. And we know teams that have not done this in the past, and there are coaches out there that'll tell you, you got to take care of your own business. It's not my job to do your job for you, to do your work for you. So, but I love the fact that the Bears had something to play for, and even with the score out of hand out there in L.A., they stuck with the guys out there and tried to finish this game also. So it looks like they're going to get a W.
Certainly. That's interesting because you wonder what would the Bears have done if they had nothing to play for. And this goes back to the Eagles knocking off the Rams a couple weeks ago to bring the Rams back to the pack to make it so that that nothing was set in stone for them getting that first-round bye. So obviously the Eagles had to run the table in order to have a chance to make the playoffs, but that win over the Rams kind of forced it so that they would have to play down the stretch and that the Bears would have some hope here in Week 17 at a possible first-round bye if the Rams, didn't get the job done against San Francisco.
Yeah, I think, and listen, I'm speaking obviously without even knowing, but I would think Matt Nagy would have at least started his guys. How long they would have played, I don't know how long they would have played, but I think he would have started some of his guys and kept them out there. Mitchell Trubisky is still a young guy. He doesn't have this on switch where he knows what it's like to be in the postseason, and all of a sudden he's going to flip that switch on next week and all of a sudden play his best game. So it worked out for them. It was good for them that they were in a sort of a pressure tense situation and had to come out and play well today, and they were able to rise to the occasion. Had the Rams already had it locked up and the Bears knew that they were going to play next week, don't think they would have played 4 quarters.
We don't know.
Quite frankly, who wants to see the Eagles right now?
No, that's the thing.
I mean,
and Matt Nagy might be looking down there and be like, you know what?
Right.
I don't want to see these guys. You can see now Kirk Cousins scrambling, throws off his back foot. The pass is complete. Let's see. So the reception is going to get them to Stephon Diggs to about the Bears' 34, 33-yard line. We're looking at 143. Again, the Vikings out of timeouts, still down 2 scores, 24-10. So Kirk Cousins in hurry-up mode in shotgun, trying to get the Vikings to get a score, and again, they'll have to go for the onside kick. So might as well, and he spikes the ball here on first down, flag on the field, so the referee's coming out to make the call. So as we wait for the results here, in terms of the Eagles' offensive performance, I like that when things weren't going good early for Nick Foles. He had the interception where he sailed the ball over the middle of the field in the high red zone area. It seemed like Doug Peterson said we need to settle him down and just get the run game going, okay? And Wendell Smallwood, I thought, ran extremely hard today. I will say, between he and Darren Sproles have really ignited the run game. Okay, last week, tough sledding against Houston, but today they really set the tone, those two. And then Josh Adams with some key runs there in the second half to help finish things off. But I really thought they did a good job of settling things down for Nick Foles. And then Nick Foles, as you mentioned, got into a rhythm and completed not 10 passes in a row, not 20 passes in a row, but ties the NFL record with 25 consecutive completions. And really, he should have had the 26 because it's a roll out to Nelson Aguilar. Yeah. The ball's at the goal line, and the ball was a little bit behind Aguilar. He wasn't able to pick it up there. On the very next play, he hits Aguilar for the touchdown to start what could have been a new streak right there, but still should have had the record at 26, but still ties it at 25. Just a very efficient performance and a great job by Nick Foles. And these aren't all dink and dunk passes. There were some nice passes to the sideline, contested catch by Alshon Jeffrey, enough tough pass down the middle to Alshon Jeffrey later on in that streak. So it wasn't like he was just, taking short passes and taking what the defense gives him. I thought he did a great job of that, but some tough throws in there as well to keep the streak going. Because Foles maybe has an idea that he's completing all these passes in a row, but he can't know that the record is almost at stake here. So as just a quick update from the Minnesota game, Cousins throws the ball out of the back of the end zone. We are now at 17 seconds left. We're waiting for the down distance situation to come up, but still.
That's ball game.
But that's a turnover. That was 4th down. That's 4th down, baby. We're back in. I'm seeing the 1st and 10 there. Not sure what's going on.
We're back in.
So look at that. Eagles are in the playoffs, baby. They are the wild card team. Minnesota not able to get it done. So U.S. Bank Stadium, a magical place for Philadelphia this year. And maybe with this result now in the books, maybe we have to say this. Washington helps the Eagles out twice today. First, laying down, losing by a score of 24-0, helping the Eagles in that standpoint. Second aspect, Washington maybe knew what they had in Kirk Cousins, allowed him to leave in free agency to Minnesota, and Minnesota not able to get it done. So it is ball game there. Eagles are back, and the defending champs are in the tournament, 24-10. The Bears have defeated the Minnesota Vikings there. So Matt Nagy walking on the field to shake Mike Zimmer's hand, and it'll be the matchup of the former Chiefs offensive coordinators.
Yeah.
Okay, in Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy. They cut their teeth in Philadelphia as young assistant coaches back in like 2009, 2010. Nagy was a training camp assistant coach. Pearson at the time was an offensive quality control, and now they're both head coaches leading their respective teams into the postseason. And we'll find out shortly, I'm sure, the exact dates and times, unless I'm sure the league probably has a good sense of when they're going to put this, but that's got to be prime time, Eagles-Bears. I'm sorry, you got two major markets, the defending Super Bowl champions, one of the hottest teams in the league, a fun Bears team that has lit up in Nagy's first year as a head coach. To me, that screams that's got to be prime time in the wild card round.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it's not Saturday evening. Cowboys, Seahawks, they probably want that Sunday afternoon,
I'm sure.
4 o'clock game.
Of course.
Yeah, that old America's team nonsense. Yeah, everybody likes to watch the Cowboys. So, I could see that matchup being Sunday and the Eagles possibly being Saturday, whether it's the first game Saturday or the second game Saturday. Like you said, 2 major markets, 2 major cities, 2 crazy sports towns, 2 football towns.
This is a fun week. Talk about a new year.
This is a great matchup, too, when you're talking about 2 football crazed cities. When you're talking about Chicago and Philadelphia, there's obviously the Fog Bowl history. So we'll be reliving a lot of that, I'm sure. And there's also the memory of the.
You played against them.
Yeah, I actually didn't get a chance to play in that game. Unfortunately, I was injured in the last game at Soldier Field, where the Eagles went out there. We went out there and beat them in the divisional round to play the Rams in the championship game in 2002, I believe it was.
2001 season.
Yeah, the 2001 season. So, some playoff history here between Philadelphia and Chicago. So it should be a great matchup. Great defense in Chicago. You know what you're getting there. The great thing is that Doug is going to be familiar with this offense, so that's also an advantage. You got the Alshon Jeffrey Chicago Bears sort of link there. You got the Trey Burton Philadelphia Eagles. Trey Burton was part of Philly Special in the Super Bowl. So it's a great matchup between 2 great football teams. And the Eagles are playing great football right now. And like you said, the biggest question right now is going to be who's going to be lining up under center. And we can't wait to hear Doug step to the podium. And obviously, they're in the locker room celebrating right now.
We cannot wait to see those videos. This could be great.
So I'm sure they're in the locker room and popping. They don't pop champagne like they do in baseball. They pop champagne for everything in baseball.
Exactly. So I don't know.
And football's a little different. Yeah, it's a little different in football. You got to actually win the championship game.
Now, okay, so we have some tweets coming up for you here. We're going to put them on the screen, flight them out here. So Jalen Mills watching from home said, Birds are in the playoffs. Yes, indeed. So the Green Goblin watching from afar. And look at that. Eagles.
Look at that.
Social media crew on top of it.
On top of it.
Want more. Absolutely love it right there. What's in the back of that picture there? You got the ski mask, okay?
Yeah.
So Rasul Douglas got the ski mask, okay, with that first play of the game. I think the Eagles as a team got the ski mask out, taking that last playoff spot.
Listen, when you get a shutout, everybody on defense gets a ski
they deserve
mask.
It. Absolutely,
it's hard to get a donut in this league, in an offensive-driven league where teams are scoring points in bunches, and to hold a team without even a field goal attempt.
Yeah.
Great defense from this Eagles game.
I don't know if I have the final, but this is pretty much what I have here for Washington's offense. Interception, punt, turnover and downs at the end of the half. Second half, punt, turnover and downs. I believe it was another turnover and downs, and it was however they finished the game. You can't ask for anything more than that. And again, this shows what a tremendous job that Doug Pearson has done himself. Okay, because you go back to the Saints game. You go to the Saints game. Okay, they lose 48-7, one of the worst losses in franchise history. Everyone thinks, you know what, the ship has sailed. The team is done. The following week, they fell behind to the Giants 19-3 in the first half. That team rallied to get the win from Jake Elliott, and it goes on the spin here at the end of the season to turn things around, to get themselves not just in playoff position, but into the playoffs. He relied on his veteran leaders up and down the board. You look at the guys on offense, from Nick Foles to Alshon Jeffrey to Jason Peters to Darren Sproles. You go to the guys on defense, Chris Long, Fletcher Cox, Malcolm Jenkins. We can go on and on. Those are the guys that help make it happen. But credit Doug Peterson for saying that when he came back from the game in New Orleans, he knew that this team would have fight in it, that this team would not give up, and would at least put out its best effort to try to make a run at the end of the season. And whatever happens, happens, okay? At that point, you may figure it might be too little, too late. But this team was not going to lay down and absolutely quit. This team fought, and guess what we have here is a team that is back in the playoffs for this is crazy to think about. The Eagles have not made back-to-back playoff appearances since we got to go back to 2010 when Michael Vick had the miracle at the Meadowlands, number 3, and the Eagles won the division that season. And there was that Joe Webb game at the end of that season, and they lose in the first round to the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round. That was the last time there were consecutive playoff appearances. They made it from 2008 to 2010. And speaking of 2008, Ike, I'm sure you probably remember the last day of that regular season 10 years ago. It was the 44-6 game at Lincoln Financial Field, and it was the last game for a lot of the teammates that you battled with through those glory years, the golden days with Andy Reid, guys like Dawkins and John Runyon and Trey Thomas, Buckhalter.
The last hurrah.
That was the last hurrah. Jim Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay, there was the last hurrah for those guys where they needed, all these things that happened on the last day of the regular season to set up that Eagles-Cowboys game having playoff implications. And what did the Eagles do? They went out and just demolished Dallas 44-6. So the 10-year anniversary was earlier this week. And if you haven't had a chance to read the oral history by our own Graham Foley, it's a fun read. The anecdotes from Merrill Reese to start and end the story, absolutely phenomenal. So make sure we have that on PhiladelphiaEagles.com and the app. So as you're celebrating and checking out all of our coverage here this evening, make sure to check that out as well. So again, we're going to hear from head coach Doug Peterson in a little bit. We're going to have some film breakdown with Fran Duffy and Greg Cosell, as now we are looking beyond Week 17. The season ain't over for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have made it into the wild card round of the playoffs as the 6th seed, and again, they will take on the Chicago Bears. So now we start talking about what has changed for the Eagles in the last month of the season. We'll go to defense with pitching the shutout for the first time since they beat the Giants in 2014. Big thing right there is the way the line has played. Okay, yeah. They've had some key injuries there. Tim Jernigan has been hurt for most of the season. They lost Derek Barnett, which at the time I don't think it was truly realized how important, how impactful that would be just from the rotation standpoint, because you've pretty much been relying on guys like Brandon Graham and Chris Long and Michael Bennett, who outstanding players, but they are up there in terms of their years and experience and age. Okay, it's you're asking a lot out of them. Fletcher Cox, he's been a one-man wrecking crew in the middle of that line. Great to have Jernigan back in the mix here. So to me, that defensive line has been the heart and the soul. You can argue the heart and soul of this football team. And the last couple of games, getting the win in L.A., dominating Houston a week ago, and then here today, not giving Washington a chance to get in this football game, has really turned things around and powered this entire team to this playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, you can really look back to that Dallas Cowboy game where that Dallas Cowboy team basically manhandled this defense all game. I mean, when you look at the time of possession that Dallas was able to hold the football, I mean, the length of some of those drives, I think they really wore down this defense. We know what the overtime series was like, where Dallas basically had the ball for the entire quarter or that entire overtime. I think they really looked themselves in the mirror after that game and said, never, never again. And really since that game, they played with a different level of energy. They've taken the ball away from opposing teams' quarterbacks, the offenses. And more importantly, I know it didn't really have to show itself today because they basically shut out the Redskins and they were never threatened. But when I look at that Rams game and that Houston Texans game, this defense had to come up with big plays late in the game, and they were able to do it. And that's how this team was able to win these games. I mean, this defense was able to come up with plays, and I think that's helped them on this 3-game winning streak. And we obviously know that the offense did a turnabout face with the way they played the last 3 weeks.
Certainly some more tweets coming on social media. Let's get to one of those right now. And This one, Kamu Grugier-Hill, special teams captain, playoffs, all right? Playoffs right there. So I didn't want to get in my Jim Mora voice. Right?
Playoffs.
Thank you, right there.
Playoffs.
Thank you, Ike.
Yeah.
Take it right there. And look at this here. This is courtesy of the Chicago Bears, okay? Look at it just this time because a week from now.
Yeah.
Look at the Hunger Games right
Yes,
there.
sir. Yes, sir.
Get the Hunger Games going right there in the video. So just this time because a week from now.
Tip of the cap, Chicago.
Hey, we thank the Windy City.
Tip of the cap.
Right?
Tip of the cap, Chicago.
You know, very much so. And here's from the Eagles. It's some of the celebration. This is coming off the field. That's Michael Bennett was a dancing fool on the field, dancing for the fans. How about the fans turning out down there?
Oh,
we
you
shouldn't
knew
be
that.
surprised
Yeah.
at this
You
point.
especially with those Redskins fans who haven't been coming to games all year.
Of course.
And so, yeah, we knew tickets would be available.
And look at from the NFL's official account, the Eagles are heading back to the NFL playoffs there.
Yes, sir.
Playoff berth clinched right there. So
And you know who I'm happy for? I'm happy for Jason Peters.
great point. First we're going to FedEx Field. Head coach Doug Pearson addressing the media. Let's take it now.
It's exciting. You know, it's a lot of hard work. Excuse me, a lot of hard work that just paid off, and you know, it's what we set out to do. Obviously, you know, we did. Obviously, this journey, we didn't meet a lot of our goals, but one of them is to get into the postseason, and we were able to do that, and so we're excited for that.
Doug, do you have an update on Nick?
I do not.
No update.
Not yet. No.
Doug, describe the way this team played the second half of the season compared to the first half of the season, and how that put you.
Yeah, you know, again, it's you know, 16 games. It's a journey. It's a long season. We try to take them one at a time, and this team obviously went through a lot of adversity early in the year. We were without some of our starters first part of the year, and then, you know, injuries began to pile up on us. But, you know, this team really hung together. I credit the leadership of the team, the coaches, just keeping the guys focused on one game at a time. And this last half, things began to kind of click for us, and you know, the guys just got better as each week came, and you know, to do what we've done here this last month and a half is credit to the guys.
So describe that moment when the clock was in the Bears Vikings game, and what did you tell the team right after that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of excitement, a lot of jubilation in the locker room, and just told the guys congratulations, we're in the postseason, and you know, it's I told them exactly, you know, what I mentioned earlier. You know, we set out to get yourself into the tournament. They've done that, and you know, we just got another opportunity next week.
You mentioned not achieving a lot of the goals that you set forth. How does it feel kind of to not have the season that you wanted to, but to kind of get a clean slate?
I mean, you know, it's obviously you can look back on it and do a lot of what ifs, but you know, bottom line is we gave ourselves an opportunity. We had to win this game tonight. The guys, you know, played a dominating performance and took care of our end, and you know, we're just excited to continue our season.
Is there something to be said for playing your best football at this point in the season?
I think so. You know, I think you start the year trying to figure yourself out just a little bit, trying to see who you are, what your identity is going to be, and you know, and then on top of that, we threw in a bunch of injuries, so we were playing with a bunch of new guys, new faces, and I think this team is playing better this time of year, and you know, we're just fortunate and happy to be playing one more week. Just a swarming defense tonight. I thought they really got after you know, the quarterback. They controlled the line of scrimmage, shut the run down, which is something we talk about all the time. And you know, anytime you can put pressure on a quarterback and just make him you know, throw from different spots or not in rhythm, gives yourself a chance. And then defense just played fast and really swarmed around tonight.
Nick tied a league record for 25 straight completions during the game. He looked very, very settled. I'm assuming he's well. He's going into the postseason a lot hotter than he did last year. I mean, this last couple of weeks last year has settled. Do you feel really good about where he is, if he's your quarterback?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, you got to understand that he started the first two games of the year, and he played all the preseason. So he's had a lot more time out on the field this year than he did last year. So yeah, I mean, you know, we're comfortable, but at the same time, we can continue to get better. And I'm happy for Nick, obviously, for that completion, you know, tying it. It's credit to him, but you know, we'll get ready to play next week.
Can you speak to your confidence in Sudfeld and kind of what he showed you on that scoring drive?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we talked right before that drive and just told him, we're gonna start settle him in with a couple of runs, and then he mentioned to me about trying to move the pocket, and that's what it was on the touchdown pass to Nelson, and he did a nice job. Came in there, he was poised. He was excited to get in the game and did some nice stuff.
Were you guys scoreboard watching during the game? The fans, you could see the fans.
I know the fans were, and from time to time, I think it was on the score was up, but quite frankly, I was locked into the game, but I can't say everybody was.
Nick took a big hit with ribs last week. Is it the same area? Is it connected?
I'll find out more once I talk to the medical team. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, how important has Aaron Foles been since he's come back? He seems like he's been that spark in the running back group. Can you talk about that?
He's a true professional. He's a leader in that room, a veteran player. It's exciting to see him out there and doing the things he's capable of doing and helping our team. And he's just done some really nice stuff. And I'm excited and happy for him. Now he gets to experience the postseason. He missed it last year, obviously, and I'm happy for him.
Doug, when you guys were 4-6, you easily could have imploded. What did you tell the guys, or what did you see that kept things from falling apart?
We just kept staying the course. We had to just continue to trust the process, our process in Philadelphia, and that's come to work every day and roll up your sleeves and get better. Just get 1% better each day, and the guys did that. I entrusted our leadership of the team, the veteran players, and they responded and responded well the second half of the year.
Good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Will Nick be out?
All right, head coach Doug Peterson saying that there's no update at this point on Nick Foles. So, you mentioned this. It might have actually been off camera. It's a good thing that Carson Wentz wasn't put on injured reserve just in case, to leave that possibility out there where if he needs to come in to play next weekend. But, again, no update at this time. We don't know if it was just precautionary. Just Coach Peterson does not have any update to tell us at this point. So I don't know if we're going to hear from quarterback Nick Foles here. But you were making a great point before we went into Doug's press conference that this is extra special for the guys who missed the Super Bowl run a year ago and some guys who came back this year just to have a taste of the postseason now are rewarded for it.
Yeah, they really are. So, you got to be happy for guys like Jason Peters, who's going to get his first opportunity to play in the postseason.
Well, it's not his first, no. He was 2010. He was here with us then.
I forgot about
2010,
that.
yes.
I forgot how long he's been here.
He's been here for a while, so yes.
He has been here for a while.
But
so
still, but not a long chance.
Still been a long time since he's had the opportunity to play, so he's going to get a chance to play. Sproles is going to get a chance to play. He didn't get a chance to play last year in the postseason here, so Jordan Hicks, healthy as well.
Great for him.
Going to get a chance to play in his first postseason action. And then guys that came over here looking to join the Super Bowl defending champs. Guys like Michael Bennett, who came here, who's already a champion, but was excited about it joining the Eagles. Haloti Ngata, who came here, who was excited about joining the Eagles. Mike Wallace, who came out for IR. He may get the opportunity to play this week.
This
Who
is
knows?
what you brought him up for.
This is
for
what you
this
brought
moment.
him for, right? So he's going to get the opportunity. Golden Tate, who you traded for. A lot of people thought, that was a wasted pick. The wasted third-round pick for Golden Tate. Well, wouldn't be wasted if you got into the postseason. So now he's going to get a chance to play in the postseason and show his worth as well. So you got to be excited for some guys that are getting a chance to play with the Eagles this week in their postseason action with the midnight green on. So it's for a lot of guys that weren't a part of that run last year, it's great to see them actually get a chance to get into the playoffs and defend their run. Not used to seeing it, man. Only the Patriots typically get back in the playoffs after they win the Super Bowl. A lot of teams struggle that following year, and we saw the Eagles not being as good as they were last year, but able to pull it together late in the season. And some things fell their way that they were able to get in. I look back on this season, right, and I don't view the Eagles backing their way into the playoffs,
This
right?
year?
They had to win 5 out of their last 6, some tough games, and then they lost some tough games. I mean, they lost some tough games. You think about the games they lost early in the year. Other than the Saints game, these are one-score games that could have gone either way.
They dominate for the most part.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly, which makes them hurt even more when you realize that that's a team you should have beaten. And to see them get in, I'm glad we can put all of that behind us. Sure, we won't have a home playoff game. That won't matter. each championship run has its different story that needs to be told. This is a different path, and maybe this is just the path they're going to have to take for this championship to come to fruition. And what hasn't been, a back-to-back champion since the Patriots did it.
The Patriots did, yep.
Did it, 14 years ago almost. Yeah,
Indeed.
14.
So one thing to talk about here is you have the experience where, Chicago's going into this game, and it's Matt Nagy's first time as a head coach. It's going to be Mitchell Trubisky, the quarterback's his first playoff game. Let's go in the time machine a little bit here. 2000, okay, Donovan McNabb's second season. You're here, anchor on special teams for the Eagles. What was it like getting ready for that first playoff run, which, you guys got the win over the Bucs in a wild card round before losing to the Giants, but getting ready for that first playoff run with Donovan?
Oh, it was super exciting. We're talking about a team that for 2 straight years had struggled to find ways to win football games. First year I was here in 98, we won 3 games. And then in 99, in Andy's first year, we only won 5 games, but we felt like at the end of the year we were playing much better football. And so we were able to carry that in to the following season. And so it was so unexpected that we made the playoffs that year, and to have a playoff game at home was even more unexpected. And so to get the Buccaneers here in our stadium on a Saturday night, man, I can remember leading up to that game how exciting we were as a young group, right? Just a young group with really no real expectations, no expectations from the outside. Just a team going up against the Bucs, who had just played in the conference championship game the year before. So really, we looked at them as still a measuring stick. Like, if we can beat the Bucs, we've arrived. So, I just remember that night, how cold it was and how great the defense was that night. Hugh Douglas, Jeremiah Trotter. I can still hear that crowd roaring when Hugh got that big sack on Sean King that really changed the momentum in that game. So it was huge for us. We almost spent all of our energy and everything else in that game because we didn't have a whole lot left to go up against the Giants the next week.
Well, the Giants just seem to have the number. At that point, the Giants had your number.
Yeah.
But still, nonetheless, though, being able to get that win, I remember it was New Year's Eve night, and the vet was rocking that night. Yep. So you get that taste of the playoffs. The next season, 2001, and this is kind of like this year's Eagles team where, this Eagles team is battle-tested. They've won the Super Bowl, okay? You mentioned the guys like Peters and Hicks and Sproles who weren't a part of last year's run, but there are a number of guys who were instrumental in winning the Super Bowl who are going to be playing next weekend against the Chicago Bears. So what was it like going into that playoff run, which, if you remember, Donovan went to Chicago, his hometown, knocked off the Bears there before getting you guys to the conference championship game for the first time, which started that streak of 4 consecutive appearances?
I tell you, we were a young team that was excited to get into the playoffs to show just how good we were as a team. And it started with the first game of the season. We lost to the Rams, I believe, the opening game of the year that year, and we lost to them in overtime, maybe 20-17. But because of how good they were as a team and how much they were respected, we saw how well we played against that team. We felt like we could beat anybody. So once we got in the playoffs that year, even though we were like the 3 seed and the Bears and the Rams had the bye week, we knew going to Chicago that we were the better team. We felt like our defense was just as good, if not better, than their defense. And so after we demolished the Bucs in that opening game, it was really all about going to Chicago and showing them who had the best defense. And that was McNabb's return to Chicago, where he's from. So that certainly was a big game for him. The last game at Soldier Field, I remember feeling very confident in the squad going into that game. I didn't even play. I'm on the sideline. I'm injured in that game. But I just remember the guys felt so confident going into that game. And Hugh Douglas got that big sack on Jim Miller. I mean, the block on Jim Miller after the interception that knocked Jim Miller out of the game, separated his shoulder. It was over from there.
And then what did he call him after the game? Call him Shane Miller, combined the 2 names of the Bears
Shane
quarterback.
Matthews, yeah, Jim Miller. And I tell you, I still believe, man, had we had a healthy Troy Vincent going into that championship game, I still believe we would have beat the Rams, man. Like, Troy pulled his groin in that Bears game.
Yeah.
And he tried to play the following week, but he couldn't finish the game. Buck got hurt on offense in that game. We felt like we were just as good as that Rams team, man. And
you were toe-to-toe with them for most of the game, too.
Yeah, we felt we had a chance all the way up to the final drive, right? So, we felt good. That was a young team that we knew. That was a young team that knew how good it was, and we were just scratching the surface. And because of where we started from, a lot of those players were on that Ray Rhodes team that finished 3-13. So we felt like a team that sort of started from the bottom and scraped our way out of there to be one of the better teams in the NFC. So that second year, man, we knew. And then our mantra was, after losing to the Rams, was just get the championship game at home. And that was our whole thought process that offseason, was make sure we're the number 1 seed so that we can host the NFC Championship game.
You bring a very interesting point, where when you have your homegrown players who have been there since the beginning that kind of take you through the entire process. Here in Philadelphia, you have a lot of the guys who have set the tone, established the culture to get the team to its winning ways now. But when you bring in new players, whether it's rookies like Dallas Goedert and Avonte Maddox, or whether it's the veterans, guys like Michael Bennett, who you mentioned earlier, you have to wonder, are they going to be able to hold their end of the bargain? Because they may say, I'm coming to the team that just won the world championship, okay? I'm on easy street here. I don't have to do my part. You have to realize that in order for the Eagles to stay at that level, you've got to be able to continue the winning ways. You've got to be able to continue to play at that high level of performance, okay?
You really do, because the standard has been set.
The standard has been
Championship
set.
standard.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you have the struggles early in the season where guys might start questioning, is this the way it's really going to be? And so all of a sudden at that point, you have to say, who's going to rise up to the challenge? Who's going to be able to say to ourselves, this is not the way the Philadelphia Eagles should be playing on a week-in and week-out basis? It just took some extra time, but you felt that within the locker room, those players continued to believe in one another, even though the results weren't showing up on the scoreboard and in the win-loss record. Okay, after the game in New Orleans, everything seemed to turn from there, and the Eagles were able to find their footing. And you have like little anecdotes, like you go in the Eagles locker room, and there's the shrine in Chris Long's locker to Nick Foles. It's just little things like that make you realize how together this team is. I mean, that's not like a defensive player doing something just with the defense, or an offensive player doing something. That's something that's representative of the whole team, realizing that the whole team has to get behind Nick Foles. Okay, obviously Nick Foles led the Eagles to the Super Bowl a year ago, but this was supposed to be Carson's year, and unfortunately Carson's not out there. So let's rally behind Nick and try to make something of the rest of this season. Okay, you have the defensive players with the ski mask. Okay, you see how much fun that they're having. That was something that was lost from last year's team, was the fun that you saw them having out there on the field. And over the last month, and sure, it comes with winning, but at least they were seeing the effort they put in during the week in practice finally showing up and representing itself on game days and in the scoreboard, and to give themselves a chance, because a lot of teams could have packed it in. You look all around the league, there are a lot of teams that played 1 o'clock games earlier today that were of similar records to the Eagles a couple of weeks ago, but for one reason or another just fell off, whether it was coaching, whether it was the chemistry in the locker room, whether it was the heart, whatever you want to have it. They just packed it in and said, you know what, we're going to collect our checks for these last couple of weeks, and just when the season's over, we can start planning our vacations. Not the Eagles, okay? They rallied to make something of the last month of this season, and they were rewarded for it today with a trip to the postseason, where they will play Chicago. Hey, Bears, thank you very much for knocking off the Minnesota Vikings. Again, the Eagles put themselves in a position where they had to scoreboard watch. They were not in control of their own destiny. Well, thanks to Chicago beating Minnesota, the Eagles shutting out Washington, the Eagles are back in the playoffs once again for a second straight season. Well, they'll have a chance to defend their Super Bowl championship. So getting back to the win here today, Ike, let's get into your 3 takeaways, starting with number 9, tying the NFL consecutive completions record with 25.
Yeah, Nick Foles, just awesome again today. I thought Nick Foles did a great job. Really, the offense wasn't about going down the field as much early. Washington sort of had a defense where they wanted to keep their safeties back a little deeper, keep that deep ball off of them, force Nick to throw things underneath. And typical Nick Foles takes what the defense gives you, gets the ball out of his hands, allows his playmakers to make plays with the ball in their hands, and that's what you saw in the first half. Didn't lead to a ton of points, but it led to sustained drives. It led to picking up first downs. It led to keeping that Redskins offense on the sideline. And this game wasn't going to take a bunch of points in order for you to win it. This was more or less, let's just dominate this ball a time of possession and put points on the board when the opportunities are there. Nick Foles did that. You look at his numbers there; they aren't eye-popping like they were last week, with the exception of his completion percentage.
The completion percentage, almost 85% is eye-popping. But
220 yards.
But the rest of it, yes, I agree. I get what you're saying.
And that's the type of thing Nick Foles will do as a quarterback. He'll do what's needed of him to do. And I thought he operated this offense with great efficiency today. And then the defense. Anytime you get a shutout defensively, I mean, man, that is hard to do in today's NFL. I mean, where do you start at? You can start at the up front with the D-line, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Michael Bennett, all over the place today. You look at the linebackers, Nigel Bradham making plays, and then the young secondary making plays. Rasul Douglas starting the game off with an interception. I just thought Josh Johnson, this is one of those games as defense you say, we're coming out to eat today, right? Like we're gonna try to see if we can get us some stats, some extra sacks. I know he's gonna throw the ball up to us a few times, so some interceptions. Things of that nature.
We're going to send it to FedEx Field. Nick Foles addressing the media. Great news there.
How are you? I'm sore. We're going to continue to figure out what's going on.
Are you going to be able to play next weekend?
We're going to find out more about what's going on in the morning. So.
Is it the same area as last week?
I mean, ribs area. So, I mean, like I said, I don't really have a lot of information right now. So tomorrow will be a big day.
It was the Kerrigan sack.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the.
In terms of the win tonight, what was the moment like in the locker room when you guys found out?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy year. It was really special as we were waiting for the other game to finish after we had taken care of business on the field. It's super exciting. I mean, anytime you're blessed to be able to play in the playoffs, and especially the road we've had these last several weeks, I mean, it hasn't been an easy ride. And, we got some help today. And, it's really special. We get to keep playing. We get to wear the Eagles jersey one more time. I'm really excited. The locker room's super excited, and, it'll be hard to sleep tonight.
What can you say about the resiliency of this team in the spot that you guys were in a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, I think the big thing I've talked about is, there was never a quitting attitude. I mean, though we might not have been winning all the games we wanted to, guys never gave up, never wavered. We just kept working, kept believing, kept communicating with one another. And sometimes it just takes time. We talk about adversity, going through adversity. It just shows that if you stick together, you lean on one another, you can do great things. So we got to keep doing that.
Was the adversity surprising, at all that you guys experienced?
Nothing surprises me playing football. You go through so many emotions. You get to see so many different things. I mean, you have so many different people coming together from different backgrounds to, achieve a common goal. The key is, how do you come together and face adversity with one another? And we've experienced that. But the beautiful thing about the Eagles is, we're able to bring everyone together and be on the same page to, really attack the adversity. When we see adversity, we know what's going on, and then that's where we really lean on each other and keep going.
You tied an NFL record with 25 straight completions at one point in this game. What kind of role were you on? What were you feeling like?
I honestly had no idea that I had completed that many in a row, and I was just playing, playing the play, and then later found out the one that I missed on was the one I double clutched and just threw a horrible pass. But we scored the next play, so it wasn't meant to be. But I don't know. I was just in the zone. Started out early. Early pick, bad decision, ball got away. That's on me. But that's adversity that we talk about, and we just kept sticking together, kept communicating on the sidelines, and ultimately we were able to put together a lot of great drives, a lot of long drives that anytime you can hold the ball, keep marching, convert on third downs, convert on fourth down, that's big for our team and our rhythm.
Speaking of which, have you ever been part of a 12-minute drive?
I don't know. That was a long one. That was a really long one, and it's not easy to do. The guys did a great job executing the plays. We kept, staying inside the chains. There wasn't a lot of huge plays on that drive, but we were able to execute when we needed to, and ultimately allowed our defense to just rest and then, go down and score.
Describe the crowd, because we could hear them chanting every time the Bears score came up. Felt like a home game out there. Describe that.
I mean, the Eagles fans are unbelievable. I've said it before. I know we're not at the link, but playing at the link, running out of the link there's nothing like it. And then, you make the link, the link today. They were out there, they were loud, the support, the whole stadium was green, and that's always huge. It'll be big this week coming up. Our fans give us such amazing support, and, we love it.
During this game, when you were on the field, how aware were you of the score in the other game?
I wasn't really paying attention. I know they kept popping up, but I looked away. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to affect my, what was going on in our game. I really wanted to stay focused on, winning this game. I didn't want to let them back in. I thought, the Redskins defense, that's who I was competing against. They did a good job tonight. They were playing hard. They were showing different looks. That's a good defense. Not yet. Not right now. Just going to sort of live in the moment right now. Obviously, they're a great team. I know Coach Nagy. He's one of my favorite people in the world. When they hired him, I knew right away that he was going to be an outstanding hire, and he has been. So once I get to film, study them a little bit more. But, I know that, they're one of the best teams in the NFL, so it's going to be a tall task.
What's the biggest thing you learned from Matt in the years?
I think the thing that I always admire, and Doug's in this category, Nagy's in this category, Andy Reid, they're genuine. Like, they are who they are. I went to training camp, signed late to Kansas City, went to get my physical, and was dropped off at Nagy's house, in, I believe, Overland Park, because it was his off day, and I had known him from my rookie year. I got to spend time with his family, hang out, and then I drove back with him. And I didn't have a car, so he let me use his car in training camp, so I could get from place to place, and he just rode with a coach. That's who he is. And not only, as a person, but as a coach, he's unbelievable. So I admire him. I'm proud of him. It'll be fun to compete against him.
You're a tough guy. What will it take to keep you out of this game?
My plan is to get ready to roll. That's my plan. Obviously, we still have to look into a lot of different things tomorrow, but, it's unfortunate I couldn't finish the game today, but, I'm ready. I want to get this thing going. I don't want to, I want to wear that jersey, one more time and hopefully more, but, all we have guaranteed is, this week. So, once again, just staying in the moment and taking care of what I got to take care of now.
A couple more questions. This team has suffered in the last couple of years. How resilient is this football team, especially from a mental standpoint, just falling for all things, and now you're back in the playoffs again?
You said from injuries and stuff?
Yeah.
It's a resilient team. I think it goes from, leadership down. that's what, creates the environment. And when a guy's injured, you see guys, rally around the new guy. And then even the guy who's injured is there supporting. And we've seen that with this team. And that's something that's very special and you don't see everywhere. So it's a resilient group. Like I've said, I enjoy every day I get to go to the NovaCare facility and work with every single person in that facility, and I'm excited we were able to earn one more week of it.
Nick, what would you take from last year's playoff experience, and what would you try to implement into this year, if anything?
I think the big thing, I learned a lot last year, and I talked about just staying in the moment. It's a big stage. It's the playoffs. We're going to go against one of the best teams in the NFL at their place. It's a big stage, so just staying in the moment, controlling what we can control. Not, like I said, don't worry about the score, just play. We have a lot of preparation coming up. So when I simplified things like that last year, it helped a lot, and I've learned a lot more since. So I'm gonna pull on everything I know to get ready this week.
Take one more from Bob, and then we're gonna go.
If this were a playoff game, could you have finished it?
I would do everything I can to get back out there. So it's a hypothetical question that I'm not going to answer, but it was a very nice try. I thought that's a less usually would ask that question, but it was good. But you try to.
Les, could you answer that?
No.
What kind of test are you going to have tomorrow? Can you say?
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna take care of business. Get ready.
What's the pain level like that?
It's sore. It's sore. And but I'm like I said, I'm optimistic. I feel like we'll get this thing situated, and my goal is to be out there and play.
Okay, thanks.
Thank y'all.
Foles is a veteran. Okay, he's been asked. Look, just at the Super Bowl alone last year, he was asked every question under the sun for multiple days, okay?
Yeah.
So he's heard them all before. So the reporters at the end, if you didn't quite get the exchange, they were trying to get him to make that declaration like, will you be out there? Oh, I will definitely be out there 100%.
Right.
Foles is like, look, I'm optimistic. My plan is to get ready to roll. He's saying all the right things, okay? But he's not going to make the declarative, guaranteed I will be out there for my teammates. So bruised ribs, it seems like that's the case right now. Something with the chest area. More testing will be done tomorrow morning, Ike.
A couple key things with this, right? I mean, it could be a bruised sternum. It could be a rib issue. This is obviously going to have some type of effect on his throwing motion, right? Still has a lot of adrenaline going. The game is a couple hours over. He's excited about the opportunity to get in the playoffs. This thing is going to feel a lot different in a few hours. You know, that train ride back up here to Philadelphia, getting through the night, what it feels like tomorrow, and then on to practice. They played today. We don't know the playoff schedule yet. Somebody is playing Saturday, which means somebody is playing on a short week. And so we don't know when practice will be and what it's going to feel like for him in a couple days. So, you know, obviously you hope for the best and you get some rest and get that thing taped up. I was about to say taped up like it's an ankle. No, you want to get it healed up as best he can so that he can be effective. Because that's a pretty good Chicago defense coming after you.
Very good.
Yeah,
Chicago
you're talking about
defense.
Khalil Mack coming at you.
Hakeem
You want to
Hicks,
make sure.
disruptor in the middle,
Yeah, you
so.
want to make sure that he can move around.
Indeed. So, again, Nick Foles addressing the media. That in and of itself was a very promising sign.
yeah.
Okay, if he were severely injured, couldn't
Where
talk.
he couldn't even talk up there or stand up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would have been concerning, but the fact that he addressed the reporters there and just talked about what it took to get the Eagles here and Ike, as we get to your final takeaway, a big proponent of getting the Eagles into the postseason after at one point being 4-6 on the season. Head coach Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson, man, really. And I look at this team this year, and listen, the head coach is going to get a lot of blame when the team isn't playing well. Well, he should get a lot of the credit when the team turns things around, especially when a team looks like their season is over with when they leave Dallas at 4-6, and you don't know what's left. Oh, was that before Dallas or after Dallas?
That was New Orleans.
That was New Orleans game, yes. Oh, my God, that game. I almost forgot they lost that game. That game was so bad. That game was so bad. But Doug, great job getting his guys ready to go today. Really, and the last month or so. I mean, just 5 out of the last 6 games, they've managed to walk away victorious. You got to give a lot of credit to the head coach, shuffling in players in and out, dealing with an injury at his quarterback position, having to go back to his backup quarterback. I mean, the amount of players on that defensive side of the ball and that secondary that's been shuffled in and out. I mean, finding a way to get the game plan and the offense sort of rejuvenated and going around someone newly added to the personnel and Nick Foles at the quarterback position, Golden Tate. Then you throw in Darren Sproles at the running back position, trying to figure out a way, how do you use these 3 running backs? How long do you stick with Josh Adams versus giving the ball to Wendell Smallwood like he did today? Wendell Smallwood was the bell cow today. In today's game, I thought he ran tough in between the tackles. So when the team doesn't give up on the season, when the team continues to fight and they find new life, to me, that credit goes to the head coach. And in the 3 years that Doug has been here, I'll say it again, it's 2 games in 3 years that I don't think the team showed up ready to go. That was in Cincinnati his rookie year and the Saints game this year. And in a league where these players need sort of reinforcement, and sometimes you gotta kick them in the butt to get them going, or they don't even listen to you because they make so much money. For a coach to be at his first stop as a head coach in Doug Peterson, and to have had his players ready to go for the most part during his 3 years here, then you throw in a Super Bowl title, back-to-back postseason bursts. I mean, Doug Peterson doesn't get enough credit as he deserves as a head coach. Forget about the X's and O's and the play calling. We'll critique him and judge him on that based on the plays working or not working, as we do as armchair quarterbacks. But you just talk about a team being ready to go, playing for their coach, showing up and giving you a hard day's work. His players typically do that for him in 3 years. That's the type of effort you get from this team. Not surprised at all.
So we talk about the coaching matchup for this wild card playoff game. Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy. We heard Nick Foles talk about his relationship with Nagy during the press conference a few moments ago. You look at the playoff coaches in the NFL, and Ike was talking about this off camera. The fact is you have Andy Reid, okay, leading the Chiefs to the #1 seed. John Harbaugh's back in the tournament.
He's been out the last few years. He's been out.
But gone back in, winning the AFC North Division title today. And a fifth person from that Reid tree, so to speak, could be Frank Reich, or a fifth Eagles connection, I should say, would be Frank Reich, possibly tonight if the Colts defeat the Titans or to be able to get that final wild card spot. It's a win and you're in, loser goes home situation on Sunday Night Football. So pretty impressive with the Eagles connections here that 5 of them of the 12 could possibly have come through Philadelphia at one point or another. So
yeah, I got a lot of rooting interest. Well, on the NFC side, just one. So I just worry about the Eagles. But on the AFC side, there's a couple coaches over there I like over there, so I'll be rooting for those guys.
All right, we were talking about the run game there. So how about Josh Adams? We want to get to some of the player interviews from tonight's victory. Let's go to On the Field, FedEx Field. Eagles insider Dave Spadaro catching up with Josh Adams following the Eagles shutout victory.
Hey, what a great way to close out the regular season. What did you guys do so well offensively today?
Just stuck to our game plan, continue to run the ball, kind of eat up some ground, and just keep our offense moving.
Were you aware at all of what's happening with the Chicago Bears? Have you paid attention?
No, I haven't. So now that our game's over, hopefully we can get a little update.
Bears have an 11-point lead, 6 minutes left. How's that sound?
All right, let's do it. That means we got one more. Let's go.
Josh, you're on the road here. All these Eagles fans, what's it like?
It's a lot of love. I appreciate every single fan that came out.
Thank you.
Rookie season, Adams is headed to the postseason. So great work by him. And that's another person who, at the beginning of the season, if you were to lay out who are going to be the key contributors to get the Eagles back to the postseason, Josh Adams' name was not going to come up whatsoever. In the spring and summer, we barely saw him on the field. He was dealing with a nagging foot injury. It was obvious the way the coaches were treating him that they saw some potential in him, but we never thought that he was going to be a key contributor. At one point, we figured he was the feature back.
He's the leading rusher on the team.
If you had that at the beginning of the season, I don't know what to give you as a prize, but nonetheless there, Josh Adams, the Eagles' leading rusher.
Yeah. Say that again.
Josh Adams, the Eagles' I don't know what the odds would have been on that one right there. So, but we saw Wendell Smallwood giving him some props there. So nice to see the interaction, the chemistry that they have there in that running back room. Deuce Staley doing a great job of, after losing Darren Sproles for most of the season, losing Jay Ajayi to a season-ending knee injury, losing Corey Clement to an injury.
Yeah.
Those are the guys you were relying upon. And going into the playoffs, Josh Adams, Wendell Smallwood, and Darren Sproles.
All 3 of you guys. Happy for Sproles. I think it'll be his first postseason appearance with the Eagles, right? Because he came after the 2013 season.
Correct. Yes. He came in the trade in 14 because he's
He
the one who
beat us.
He beat us in the playoffs in that wild
did.
card game. So,
He did,
so it's actually his first time playing in the postseason.
So that's going to be pretty cool.
So, obviously, you've seen our reaction to the Eagles officially getting to the postseason. I don't know how much of Merrill and Mike's broadcast captured that essence of it, because at the very least, by the time our game ended, Chicago had the nice lead on Minnesota. They were able to finish after that. So we're going to go to the Sports Radio 94 WIP booth and listen to the highlights of the game through Merrill Cam.
On first down, Johnson back to throw. He's being chased, starts to run, directing traffic, lets it go downfield, and it is intercepted on the first pass by Rasul Douglas. 34-yard field goal attempt by Elliott. It is up, and it is good, and the Eagles take the lead. So Jake Elliott converts, and finally the Eagles are on the board. Into the shotgun is Josh Johnson. 3 receivers right. Johnson back. He is running, trying to get free. He is hit, and he is sacked. Great play by the Eagles. Rasul Douglas racing up with a corner blitz. Foles under center. Foles rolling, looking, still looking, fires, and it is touchdown, Alshon Jeffrey.
And he just rips the ball away from Josh Norman. A little rollout, getting Nick outside the pocket, and there's a real fight in the back of that end zone by 2 outstanding athletes, and Josh Norman and Alshon Jeffrey, and Alshon takes the football away.
Motion to the near side. Falls back. Fires. Complete. Touchdown! He's got Aguilar. Gave him another shot, and they're in the no, they're saying incomplete. At first look, Mike, I thought he had it. And the ball came loose.
Nelson is too concerned about trying to push the ball or stick the ball over the goal line and loses the football on his way down.
Now let's take another look at that.
Listen,
Mike.
all he really has to do is catch the ball, hold on to the ball. He catches it, he's trying to reach for the pylon,
That's
and
a
the football
touchdown.
comes out.
That's a touchdown.
That's a
Mike,
touchdown.
That's a touchdown. That ball penetrated the goal line.
And so Doug's going to challenge this.
Yeah,
and,
it's a
and he's going
touchdown.
to find out that this is, in fact, a touchdown.
It is a touchdown. It is a touchdown because he caught it as he
He
extended
catches the football, and he starts to extend it over the pylon, and he's already broken the plane.
Yes.
Then the football comes out.
Yes, it's a touchdown. Johnson back. Johnson steps up. He's hit. He fumbles the football. Let's see who has it. I think the Eagles have recovered. They have.
Fletcher Cox.
Fletcher Cox with the strip sack. Sudfeld lines up again. It is 2nd and 10. He floats it. He completes it. And running for a first down and more is Aguilar. And he is he in? I'm awaiting a signal.
Oh, yeah.
He is in. The Eagles win their 5th game in 6 weeks. They beat the Washington Redskins 24-0, and there is life. There is life.
There is life indeed. Now, what's interesting about the view there at FedEx Field, Merrill Reese has told me over the years, is by far the worst in the entire NFL.
Right, yeah.
Okay? Is the worst perspective. I've been in the press box there over the years, and you're basically in the end zone. So if you're on the one side of the field, it's almost impossible to tell what's going on the field. So, kudos to Mike Quick and Merrill Reese for the amazing job they do each and every week. And I was hoping to capture that emotion, that energy. We've had 2 phenomenal finishes there, where last week you get Jake Elliott's game winner against Houston, and this week you get the shutout victory followed by the hope that the Eagles might be in the playoffs, and a couple minutes later, thank you to the Chicago Bears. They made it a reality for us.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, listen, we didn't know how that Bears game was going to finish out, considering what the Rams were doing out there to San Francisco. And the Rams in San Francisco, that game was over from the time they entered that stadium in L.A. because the 49ers had no shot at beating the Rams. So then the concern became, how long will Matt Nagy play his first teamers? And I got to give him a lot of credit, man. He decided to play those guys really pretty much all the way through the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that 49ers-Rams game was out of reach before halftime. It was 31-10 going in the locker room. The Rams scored immediately coming out of the locker room, so it's 38-10 before you know it. Matt Nagy could have very easily pulled his guys, but the score was 13-10 at the time, I believe, when the Rams went up 31-10, and that's when I started to get concerned. I'm like, okay, here's where he's about to start
Pull
pulling
the
his
reins
players.
back and say whatever happens, happens.
But he didn't.
So.
He left his guys in there, and thank you. Thank you to Matt Nagy for being able to do that, to leave his guys in there. And his defense had played so well up to that point. His offense was sputtering a little bit, but his defense was playing tremendous. And I think he wanted to reward them for the way that they had played. And quite frankly, the Vikings never scored again. I mean, it was 13-10, and they won. The
final score 24-10.
Yeah, the final score was 24-10. So that Bears defense really won that game for them, because the Vikings wind up going for it on 4th down several times, not converting, and ended up giving the Bears good field position where they turned one of them into a touchdown.
They got a 2-point conversion, able to finish off the deal there. Yeah. So the final points of the Eagles' regular season didn't come courtesy of a Nick Foles touchdown pass. Came from Nate Sudfeld. And Nate Sudfeld, special day for him, because he got to play most of the regular season finale last year against Dallas. The Eagles were shut out 6-0. The Eagles rested the starters, but no, Nate Sudfeld was not able to gain points on the board. So, regular season finale, we didn't expect to see Nate in this situation, okay?
Nate.
It was at least blowout time, but still, we weren't expecting to see him in this situation. Sure. And, of course, he came off the bench, threw one incomplete pass. Okay, made sure not to turn the ball over before Nick Foles led the game-winning drive against Houston. Comes in today against the team that drafted him. Discarded him last year. The Eagles put him on the practice squad.
I forgot about that.
He's formerly of
forgot he was
Washington. That's where he started his
Redskin.
career.
Yes, I forgot.
Washington. Jay Gruden saying on his conference call with Philadelphia reporters this week, saying we had a roster issue at the time. We needed some extra players. We just couldn't have.
Now.
They could have used them this season, certainly, to keep their season afloat. So nonetheless, the Eagles signed him to the practice squad, quickly bumped him up to the active roster when I think it was Indianapolis wanted to sign him to their active roster. And Nate Sudfeld comes in and throws his first career touchdown pass against his forward team, a 22-yard catch and run to Nelson Aguilar. And the best part was at the end, Aguilar gives the ball to a fan sitting in the front row.
Come on, Nelly.
Nate comes running in saying, "That's my first touchdown."
Yeah.
It's an Eagles fan. It's a young Eagles fan cherishing the memento he just got from Nelson Aguilar. What a great day. Eagles getting the win. I got this touchdown ball. And Nate just comes and steals it. It's like an RPO. Takes the ball right back there. Our Eagles attire, Dave Spadaro. I hope Dave Spadaro interviews Nate Sudfeld about that very moment there. Let's go to that interview from FedEx Field. Eagles attire Dave Spadaro with quarterback Nate Sudfeld after the Eagles win.
Nate, how'd it feel out there for you? First real extended action.
Yeah, it felt really good. I just tried to stay in the moment and play one play at a time. And coaches called great plays, and guys were making great blocks and catches around me. So it was fun to play a little bit.
The thrill of your first NFL touchdown pass.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite hit me yet. It's definitely pretty cool, but I'll probably reflect on it a little bit tonight. But I don't know, just glad that we got the win tonight.
And dude, you got the ball back. That's so cool.
I know. I felt really bad. Nelly gave it away, and then I went up to the kid. I was like, "Hey, I'll get you a new one, but this is my first one. Can I keep it?" And he's like, "Okay." So I felt really bad about that, but we got him hooked up.
At least I think somebody did get a ball for the boy.
Right, yeah.
But I actually wondered, did Sudfeld have the ball when he was doing the interview right there? I was looking to see if he was going to hold it up as a special moment from the Eagles' 24-0 win over Washington. So what we're going to do now is take our first commercial break. On the other side, we're going to go inside the film room for the Rico review where Fran Duffy and Greg Cosell are going to break down, I think it was Nelson Aguilar's first touchdown of the day. And we're also going to reveal our Toyota Player of the Week nominees. Now, if you are following us on social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, you need to come on over to PhiladelphiaEagles.com or the app to watch the rest of the show. We're going to give you a few minutes to get situated. I can't believe, we're in the playoffs. We'll see you after these few minutes.
Got your laundry list of players?
I got one big one.
Good afternoon.
Who starts at quarterback on Sunday?
Nick.
How's he feeling today?
Feeling good.
Do you have to manage him at all this week because of it?
Wednesday again will be a walkthrough, so there's nothing real taxing there. It's just more mental reps, and then Thursday we'll, as the week goes, we'll I don't want to say cut him loose, but yeah, we'll take care of him and make sure he's ready for Sunday.
What did the test show as far as his ribs, chest area is concerned?
I didn't see him. I don't know what it said, what it read, what it looked like. I don't know.
Obviously, you decided to start him though, based on.
Yeah, everything was good. It was clear.
No, this walkthrough that you're doing, it seems like it really paid off in this last game. Did you see that, especially with the defense, really came out with their legs on them?
Yeah, it's something I've done now the last couple of weeks. And quite frankly, just it's a little more rest. You get guys that are nicked up that maybe wouldn't practice Wednesday normally. They can actually get some mental reps. We know the guys are going to be in the game, so we want to make sure that they can still get the rep on Wednesday, and allows us to get twice as many plays in, and so it's been good. Guys have responded well, and it's something that this time of year is good for us.
Doug, what's the word on Carson Wentz, and will he practice this week? And
I don't have any further updates on Carson at this time.
Is it fair to say or safe to say that Nick's going to be your quarterback as long as you win?
For this week.
I mean, is there any scenario where...
There's no guarantee we're going to win this game.
I understand. I'm just saying if,
Yeah, I'll evaluate next Monday.
Doug, you started this.
I'm trying.
I know.
You haven't
Thanks for trying.
Doug, you started this most recent stretch with a tough road win against a really good team, and you're facing sort of a similar situation this week. Tough road game, really good team. What do you think y'all can take from that experience in LA, or just turning things around there and employ this week to kind of use?
I think there's some great lessons that we can learn as a football team. Going into obviously a hostile environment against good football teams, offense and defense, special teams included. Obviously now it's heightened because it is the playoffs, and it's a wild card round against a team that defensively has really kind of staked a claim. I mean, they're creating turnovers. They're getting after the quarterback. I mean, you look at that game yesterday, and Vikings game, they're getting after Kirk Cousins, and it's another challenge. But I think going into LA against that defense, and against that offense, prepares us for opportunities like this. I even go back to the New Orleans game where, yeah, we didn't win the game, but I think learning from that type of environment as well. We came up short in the Cowboy game down there in overtime, but I think those are all lessons that we can learn on how to finish, how to be prepared against good football teams, and being able to take that on the road.
You have chosen not to put Carson on IR. From the outside looking in, it seems like that was maybe sort of a backup plan in case something happened to Nick. So have you talked to Carson? Has there been any thought of letting him try to practice this week?
I have not talked to Carson today, and no.
Doug, how much from the experience that you guys went through last year in the playoffs, how much can you pull from that now, and how much of an advantage can that be for this team right now?
I think you can draw some conclusions, some parallels from that. I think the team, the biggest difference now is that obviously we have to go on the road. Last year we had the luxury of having a bye, and then of course playing at home for possibly 2 games. So we understand that we're on the road, but having guys that have been through it, I think the heightened sense of awareness, the urgency, the sort of it's a do or die, backs against the wall mentality. I think those are all things that we can definitely draw from last year's postseason run, now into this game.
And so just to confirm, is Nate Sudfeld the number 2 on Sunday against the Bears?
As of right now.
Doug,
Fair enough.
That's why
Don't get nervous.
your history with Matt and Mike Groh knows big Fangio really well. This is not an opponent you play all that often, but does that help in preparation that you guys know the coaching staff pretty well?
I think so. We played him last year. I know it's a different head coach, different offense, but defensively was very similar, the year before. I think, there's definitely some, and having played Kansas City last year, I think you can draw some parallels there a little bit, and then of course what they're doing this year, in not only in KC but in Chicago with Coach Nagy, and he does a good job of moving his guys around, and Cohen's all over the place, and he's a challenge. He's a load, but I think back to the Rams game and a lot of their moving parts, and it kind of goes back to the question earlier, how we were able to handle some of the moving parts there with the LA game. I think can help us, moving forward in this game.
Do you and Matt Nagy see offense similarly? Sorry.
Wow. Go ahead.
It's hard to get a question in here.
I know, just boom, right out of left field. Yeah. All right, say that again. Sorry.
You and Matt Nagy see offense similarly. Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Obviously, you can draw parallels from Coach Reed. We both, kind of learned under him, and so I know Matt is very, he definitely is an aggressive coach. He's got an aggressive mindset, and he's very creative, and that's what you're seeing on tape and in games, and so I think there's some similarities there, but you always have to sort of adapt to your personnel and your personality as a team, and that's what he's been able to do, and it's been successful for him, and would expect much of the same.
Along those same lines, Doug, have you given any thought as to why Andy's coaching tree has had the type of success that it has?
I get asked that a little bit from time to time. I just think that, one of the things that Andy has kind of instilled in as assistant coaches is just a work ethic, a drive. I mean, you got to put in the hard work and preparation. I say that a lot to the players, but I'm also speaking to the coaches. You got to spend time, and studying your opponents, and especially as play callers. But if your assistant coaches aren't prepared and detailed during the week, it's going to carry over, obviously, to their position, and sometimes, that can affect the outcome of the game. But I think one of the things that Andy really does a good job and a great job of is how well he prepares his assistant coaches to just coach and teach and sort of hit the ground, running a little bit, and it's paid off, obviously, in my case and now in Matt's case.
Doug, in 2016, you were one of a bunch of coaches hired, and you're the last guy standing of that group. Did you follow that group? Because you were kind of being compared with those guys for a long time.
All I can remember, I think I was 7th of 7 that year. That's all I remember. No, listen, you got to have confidence in your ability. And obviously I'm not going to speak for the other guys, but I had a lot of confidence in myself. I felt like you have to surround yourself with really, really good assistant coaches, good coordinators, and guys that love ball and love to teach. And that's obviously something I learned from Mike Holmgren and Andy. And again, I can't speak for the others, but that's just what I know. And then having the ability in myself and confidence in myself to lead and to teach and to get guys to play. I feel like if that's good enough, it's good enough.
Can you talk about the value on what guys like Fletcher Cox and Malcolm Jenkins have meant to you guys, especially over these last 6 weeks? Just holding everything together, both off the field and with their play on the field.
Yeah, I mean it's really good to see both of those guys, leaders of the team, both on the my committee, and guys that after New Orleans, quite frankly, rose up and challenged the guys to, it's time to go. We got to get this fixed. And they're obviously valuable on the football field, but off the field as well, in their roles, whether they're talking to young players or bringing somebody along and kind of showing them how to win, and that's important too. And it's great to have both those guys on the team.
Is given Nick's situation coming back from getting banged up a little bit, do you anticipate this being like a normal reps week for Nate, or just scout team only, or might you throw him in for a couple more?
I would anticipate a normal week, for both those guys in that capacity. It's hard to say until we really get to Thursday, but right now I would anticipate being the same.
No practice and just walk through. No practice and just walk through again on Wednesday.
Yes, walk through again.
This will be the second postseason in a row where Carson Wentz has to watch, most likely. Is there anything to be gained from that? And if not,
well, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, Carson, you've talked to him. He wants to be out there and be with his team, and it is unfortunate that it's not that case. But right now he's being very supportive and he's healing, and he's doing everything he can to help Nick, and that's his role right now.
Coach, there's been several different messages this week, or this year rather. The new norm, embrace the target, pressure's off, to name a few. Now that you're playing your best football, heading into road playoff situations, what's the message now?
Doesn't have to change. Message does not have to change. We still gotta be focused. We still gotta have faith. We still gotta believe. So when I said the new norm, I mean the new norm is just that. I mean we expect to be playing in the postseason each year, and it doesn't matter how you get in, whether you go 13-3 to 9-7. If you get a chance to get in, you get in, and you see what happens. And so from that standpoint, I just want the guys to understand that the guys that are going to be here, that's why we train in the off season and training camp and put all that time in for moments now like this. This is what you play for, and you get a chance to be in this tournament and again compete, and play for another world championship if possible, and that's what I want our guys to expect.
Do you have a chance to get somebody like Sidney Jones or Mike Wallace in this week, you think?
Both those guys are doing well. I think Mike will continue to do the individual stuff. Sidney is a little more day-to-day, but still a little bit of a long shot.
How about Isaac?
Isaac will actually get a few more reps this week. We'll see where he's at. Is that you or who? That's you? Yeah. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Doug.
John McMullen, our 97.3 ESPN Eagles insider. It's 4 o'clock, so obviously it's John McMullen time. I'm going to bring him into the conversation. I'm sure he has just a few things to say. He dropped a bomb on Josh here when we brought him on. He let us know that the Eagles are making the playoffs. So for all you people out there that didn't know, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be in the 2018 playoffs, despite my funeral arrangements that I set up for them many weeks ago. So that's a good time to bring in John McMullen. John, happy New Year's Eve. I'm sure you got a lot of big plans for tonight. What's going on?
Yeah, Happy New Year. Well, the Eagles kind of ruined my plans.
It's unbelievable. They don't care about anyone.
Don't care about any of us.
No.
But they deserve credit. They did what they had to do and took advantage of a situation where obviously Chicago, I don't know what Chicago was doing, to be perfectly honest, because I think they had an opportunity, and I mentioned this last week, to manipulate the best divisional round matchup, and they didn't do it for whatever reason. Call it swagger, call it confidence, or call it arrogance, but they picked the wrong team. They have a much tougher matchup than what they should have had. Now, maybe they can go out and beat the Eagles, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me what they did.
Why did they do that, John? I mean, do you have any insight or any opinion as to their strategy there? I mean, leading up to the game yesterday, everyone that I talked to, everyone being the casual fan, and even just some people that follow the Bears and the Eagles closely, are saying, yeah, they're not going to try and win this game. Why would they? I mean, maybe the first half, but after that, they should be sitting everyone, and who cares what happens? I mean, what was their thought process yesterday in going out of their way to try and beat that Vikings team?
Well, I can only speculate, but I can tell you from inside that building that there were most of the coaches and executives with the Eagles did not believe Chicago would try to win that game.
Right.
And certainly tap out early, especially considering what happened with the Rams, and it was pretty clear, pretty evident that they were going to win. So once that number two seed was off the table, Eagles expected the Bears to put it in their backups. They didn't. They went on to win the game. There's two schools of thought, and Matt Nagy, who's kind of a new school coach, went old school, and his obvious mentality was go win the football game. We think we're better than Minnesota, which they obviously are. They think they're better than the Eagles, and we'll see if they are. Look, you can show confidence, and it's difficult, sort of a hurdle to say to your team, we don't need to win this game. And as a coach, you can't do that. So what you should do is manipulate the outcome by using personnel, taking out the starters. And that way, you don't send a bad signal to your team. You're just saying, look, we're being cautious. We need our starters for the playoffs. And you move on, and you have the better matchup in the divisional round. He went the other route, which is, let's go win every football game, and maybe it works out for him, but I don't like the strategy. And this is a guy who I was voting for Coach of the Year,
wow,
Matt Nagy. I don't know if I'm going to do that now. That's how
Wow.
poor of a decision I think that was.
Yeah, I agree completely. And you bring up a good point as far as what type of message that sends to the locker room. I mean, you don't have any insider information regarding this, but you've been around the league long enough, and you've been following the Eagles and the rest of the NFL long enough. How do you think the players reacted to that? Like, is there a chance that there's a couple players in that locker room that are like, man, what is Coach doing? Like, I don't want to face this Eagles team, or this doesn't matter.
No,
Let's rest.
I don't think the players think that way, because players sort of have to play. And I think the best example of that is the Sixers. Nobody knows better about tanking than this city and what the Sixers went through. But no player ever tanked. The worst players the Sixers ever had are trying to win basketball games.
Yeah.
But they manipulated to where they couldn't by not signing good personnel. So that's how you sort of do it. You can't expect the players to say, well, we can't beat the Eagles, we can beat the Vikings. That's not a player's mentality. They think they could beat anybody. If you go to the Arizona Cardinals with the number 1 overall pick, the vast majority of people on that team think they're going to beat the New Orleans Saints on every given week. It's not realistic, but that's just their mentality. So it's a coaching staff decision to again remove personnel and try to set up the best possible situation. And they decided they didn't need it. And we'll see. Maybe they're right. Maybe that defense is so good that they'll go in and dominate the Eagles. But I don't like that matchup as opposed to the matchup they could have had. I think
I agree.
They've created a much more difficult hurdle for themselves.
Yeah, I don't know how they could like the matchup, or anyone just observing the Eagles at this point, and even the Bears and then the Vikings. And if you have your pick, if you have an opportunity to get your pick, you would think that would be a pretty straightforward answer. But nonetheless, a gift from the Chicago Bear gods. And here are the Eagles now. At least me, the unthinkable has happened with them getting into the playoffs, especially when Carson goes down. I feel like I'm reliving last year all over again. I mean, I tweeted out, it's happening again, because at this point, what the heck do I know? What the heck does anyone know? This team is special, and they're playing well on all cylinders. You wrote an article that's up on 973ESPN.com. I want to get into, obviously, everything from yesterday, but the most concerning thing, everyone took a big deep breath in when Nick Foles went down, and you posted Eagles get good news on Nick Foles. So let's start off with the Nick Foles update.
Well, he's got bruised ribs, so it's not very serious, and he is going to be a starter. I'm a little surprised Doug confirmed that at his press conference today. I thought he would go the competitive advantage route we saw so many times during the season. But he's not even going to bother.
I don't think he has the energy to do that anymore.
Which is, I mean, obviously the Bears were going to prepare for Nick Foles anyway, so he didn't do the tap dance with that. So that's the good news, and they expect Nick Foles to be ready to practice and have his normal amounts of reps. The Eagles are going to continue what they did late in the season. They're going to have a walkthrough on Wednesday, a full practice on Thursday. So they're trying to keep the guys as fresh as possible for Sunday. And that's what's worked for him, so you kind of understand it. And you're right about Nick Foles. I mean, it is unbelievable. We've gotten to the point where this guy's setting records every week. And against Houston, it was the franchise record for passing yardage. Against the Redskins, he ties the NFL record with 25 straight completions. Should have had it. Bad pass to Nelson Aguilar would have been 26. And then he turns right back around. Same play, goes right back to Nelson Aguilar for a touchdown. Now, people will point out a lot of that was underneath stuff, easy completions against a team that kind of cashed in their chips for the year. There's no doubt about it, but you got to give Nick Foles credit. He's playing at a tremendously high level. He's playing with such confidence. And this, again, harkens back to the Bears and what they're thinking. You got the reigning Super Bowl MVP who's pulling rabbits out of hats again.
Yep.
And you have Mitchell Trubisky who's never played in a playoff game. And Jim Schwartz is going to be throwing exotic coverages at him all day. I don't like it.
Yep.
From a Bears perspective.
From a Bears
Eagles
perspective. You love it.
I love it.
Yeah, and for the people out there that are saying, "Oh, well, it's the Redskins and it's it's checkdowns." Listen, 25 straight in the NFL. I don't care if it's me, you, Mike Gill, Josh, and 7 others on the other defense. You're going to make a mistake, or there's going to be a miscommunication at some point. To get 25 in a row, that's it's unbelievable. The guy just continues to shock me and everyone else, and the vibe that I get from the fans and the city at this point. It's just like I said a couple minutes ago, I just feel like it's happening again. I really do.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, we've gotten to the point where Carson Wentz is an afterthought, and I kind of feel sorry for
I do too.
Carson Wentz. But you're right on that 25 to 25. I mean, if you're at 7-on-7s in practice where you're supposed to complete passes, you're not going to get 25 out of 25. So spin it any way you want. That's very impressive, even really against that team. And there's a reason. Only two other guys have done it. It is easier to do it in this modern era. Phillip Rivers is one of them who did it earlier this season. But there's still not many people that have been able to do it.
No.
So you have to give him credit for that. He's not only winning football games, and that one yesterday, you can kind of throw it out. It wasn't really a game with Josh Johnson. But also remember, this guy went on the road and beat the L.A. Rams.
Yeah.
He beat the Houston Texans. Those are both double-digit win teams. Those are both division champions. One's got a bye. It's been amazing. And I understand why people are buying in. It's going to be much more difficult this time because you got to go on the road. But nothing Nick Foles does at this point surprises me any longer.
No, me either. And I joked with Josh. I got here around like 3:45, and before you came on, I was telling him it's like, no disrespect to the John McMullins of the world or the Jeff Moshers of the world, but it's like it's beyond.
Well, you can disrespect Mosher.
Yeah, well, I'll disrespect him. Obviously, not you. But the point is, I'm over the analysis at this point. I'm over the inside information because it's like everything that I've seen with this team, particularly when Nick Foles is in, no one can predict or expect or give you the insight of what he's about to do, because anyone with knowledge of this sport can break down when he enters the lineup and give you a very sound assessment of what you expect for the upcoming game, this and that. And he shuts everyone up. And I'm not saying he's shutting you up in particular. My point is he's just been so special.
He has.
Yeah, and he has. It's just amazing.
And that's what I just, kind of said. I give him credit because I've been one of those people. And I'll be honest, you wait for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And I continue to wait for the other shoe to drop. And who knows? It might drop in 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Who knows? All you can do is report on what you see and what you hear.
Yeah.
And it's obvious. Look, people can believe this. They don't have to believe it. I mean, I always ask people if they want to be lied to. The Philadelphia Eagles believe Carson Wentz is their longtime franchise quarterback. That has not changed. That will not change. They are in this unique situation, and there's really no other example to compare it to. People can bring up Jeff Hostetler back in the day, but that was not even remotely compared to this.
You can't disrespect Foles with Jeff Hostetler.
Yeah.
It's gotten to that point.
Because at the level that he's played at, look, anybody who sits there and says, "Oh yeah, I knew Nick Foles was going to outdo Tom Brady in the Super Bowl."
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Anybody who said he's going to go in against the number one defense in the NFL last year in the NFC Championship game and tear him to shreds. I mean, well, if you thought that, you don't know much about football.
Yeah, you're off your rocker.
But what you said, Ryan, is true. He keeps doing things against these teams. Nobody, and I will include this fan base, because last year, obviously the Eagles were a tremendous team. 13 wins, number one seed. Everybody knew they were a good team. This year, it's been much more difficult. They sneak into the playoffs on the last day of the season, and if you go back to that Rams game, nobody in this fan base thought the Eagles would be able to beat the Rams on the road.
No, never.
No, and not many thought they were going to be able to beat a Texans team that had won 10 of 11 coming into Lincoln Financial Field. Guy continues to amaze.
He really does. And now I'm going to ask a follow-up that contradicts everything I just said previously. But in your opinion, what's the reason for all this? Like, what have you seen that it's just a switch that flips when he enters the game, and week after week we see more and more special play from this guy and the entire team, and it filters over to the defense, to the special teams. Like, this team was a completely different team with Carson Wentz. I know he had a lot of injuries, right? That's the obvious answer. But what have you seen with Nick Foles and this team since he's entered this lineup?
Well, I think Doug has done a better job of game planning, him and Mike Rowe, a better job of play calling. And Doug has admitted he and Nick Foles are sort of on the same page more than he and Carson because he has a much longer history with Nick Foles. So they know each other a little bit better. I think the second part is the way they are as players. And I mentioned this before, Carson wants more autonomy at the line of scrimmage, and Nick Foles wants to be told what to do. And I think Doug is more comfortable with the latter. So that's number one. Number two, they talk about this all the time. Nick has a background as a basketball player as well as a point guard. He likes to distribute the football. He likes to let other people make the plays and get rid of the football quickly. So he's not trying to extend plays. He's not trying to do too much. And the football's out of his hands quickly. I think that's part of it. And then the other issues defensively, you talk about bad luck, and I don't know if that's the proper term, because Carson Wentz is a member of the Eagles, and he should be excited that they're making this run as well, but he is a human being, and there is human nature. You talk about that defense. Carson was the one out there in the dark days of Chandon Sullivan and Devontae Ballsby and Crevan LeBlanc when he first got here and barely knew the defense. And all of a sudden, Nick gets in there, and Avonte Maddox is back, and they put him outside, and he's playing well. Rasul Douglas gained some confidence. He's playing better, and LeBlanc has been here and sort of solidified the nickel position. Jordan Hicks comes back from injury. So all of that kind of happens at the same time. And I think, hey, you can give Nick Foles. I just gave Nick Foles credit for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But Nick Foles has been on the good end of having Avonte Maddox. I think that's one of the underreported stories of late this season, just how good Maddox has been on the outside as a corner and how much it's helped that defense.
Completely agree. I said that with Josh before you came on as well. I said, listen, Gil and I know you've been involved in the conversations as well on your Countdown to Kickoff show and, Krause McMullen show and Mosher, the defense versus offense conversation / debate that took place really for a majority of this season. But for me, ever since that New Orleans game, this Eagles defense has completely turned it around. I mean, Michael Bennett has been a much better rushing the passer player for them on the D-line. They've been tackling better. They've been playing the run better. You've mentioned Rasul Douglas and Avonte Maddox. And the big thing for me, John, turnovers. 9 in the last 6, and then they only had 7 in the first 10. You turn the other team over and you tackle better, you're going to give yourself a better chance, right?
Well, yeah, and there's no doubt about it. They have been more opportunistic, but that's also relates back to getting some of the talent back. And the fact that I got news for you. if Sullivan and Ballsby were still out there, this team would have been losing games. They wouldn't be in the playoffs. And there's a reason both of those guys were cut on Christmas Eve. The Grinch of all roster moves. But that's how bad they were. That's how bad they were performing. All of a sudden, Devontae Maddox gets back, and to be honest, there's a little luck involved there because nobody wants a 5'9" guy playing outside. The Eagles only put him out there because they were forced to, and they had nobody else. And then they go, oh, my God, he's playing really well. Let's leave him out there.
Yeah.
And then Rasul Douglas, it really comes back to that first Redskins game. If you remember that sort of trickery they tried, the throwback pass to Chris Thompson that was going to go for about 30, 40 yards at least. There was one guy who could make that play, and it was Rasul Douglas, and he undercut Trent Williams, one of the best tackles in this league. And you can see his confidence growing from that very play. Not the greatest in press coverage, but he's got great ball skills, leads his team in interceptions. They've been much improved at corner.
They really have, and it's been night and day, and it doesn't hurt when you get your guys back, like you said. John McMullen with us. Follow him on Twitter at JFMcMullen, longtime national columnist for the NFL. Our 97.3 ESPN Eagles insider with us every day, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. So, John, it's a day after the Redskins game now, and we're looking forward already to the Eagles-Bears matchup. So I'm going to ask you already here on a Monday, what's your one key? What's the biggest key for this Eagles-Bear matchup? Is it the Eagles' defense? Is it your favorite thing here, balance on the offense? What is this one key that doesn't involve Nick Foles for this game?
Well, the one, and Scott Grayson can tell you this because we carpooled down from Delaware, and I told him before the game even started, I said, if the Bears are dumb enough to go win this game against the Vikings, they're going to lose to the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs. Before the game even kicked off. And that, to me, is the key. The key is already done. The Bears made their mistake. And it's Nick Foles against a first-time quarterback. It's Mitchell Trubisky against Jim Schwartz. It's Doug Peterson against Matt Nagy as far as being the Andy Reid acolytes. Peterson's been doing it longer. This is not a good matchup for the Bears.
I love it, man, and I hope you're right, as you often are. So it's going to be a good one, and we'll be talking to you much more throughout the week, leading up to Eagles versus Bears in Chi-Town. Can't wait. Hopefully the Nick Foles ribs are nice and numb for St. Nick there that day. John, thank you as always joining us here on New Year's Eve. I hope you have a safe and happy New Year's Eve into your New Year's Day. For anyone out there, John will be having bottle service tonight in Atlantic City, bringing in the new year. So, John, thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Unfortunately, I got to be at press con. The Eagles ruined it. I would have been doing that, but now I have to work.
Now you have to work, man. It stinks. Yeah. All right, John. Thanks,
Happy
man.
New Year, guys.